What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. He's going to do it to us straight away, guys. Of course he is.
Sorry, boys. Sorry. Just still having good dreams, you know.
Come on.
Have a dream.
Come on.
I'll send you guys. I've already sent the link. Sorry, fellas. Sorry.
We knew we were going to get it. We knew we were going to get it today. Brody, another episode of Down Unders, my brother. How are you feeling after the weekend? Obviously, big weekend for you, bro.
Couldn't be happy to be in this chat right now. Couldn't be happier.
Guys, please make sure you put in the chat what your thoughts are, Brody, right now. Jazzy's in you there. Tans, what's going on? What's going on? Good to see all the usuals there. Michael Williams, always first to the chat. Appreciate you, brother. But man, what a weekend of football. There was golden points everywhere. There was, field goal attempts everywhere. There was our game. Like, just the summary of the weekend in general and buy round football. Like, what's your thoughts at the moment before State of Origin? How's every team sort of looking at the moment? And, how was your weekend of footy overall? Yeah,
look, I didn't get to catch as much footy as I'd like. I've been a bit busy with work and a bit tired. So games are on a bit late these days for winter weather. Yes, I know it's not as cold as New Zealand, but it's still cold for us Aussies. So, but yeah, it was good. Still, hard to tip. I think we did a bit better this week with our tipping, but, there's still teams that are hit and miss. So, look, put it this way, it'll be good once, unfortunately, Origin is done. So we'll see how we go. Look at that, straight away.
You knew you're going to get it, bro. We're on a Warriors channel too, guys. So please, guys, if you enjoy the content that we're bringing, obviously, Brody, big balls to sharpen this show. But when his team gets a win, it's very, very nice to see. 16 people currently in the chat right now, guys. Appreciate everyone continuing to come through. If you enjoy the content, whether you're on Ash Thomas on YouTube, Wise Up TV, or also Wise Up TV on X, which is Twitter. X and Twitter, pretty much the same thing, guys. Please make sure you like and subscribe, share along to all your friends and all that. And we'll pretty much deep dive into our weekend of footy. First of all, we'll go through the team of the week this week, Brody. We'll just go through each and every one of them and our thoughts overall. So may as well start off with you, bro. Who's our fullback of the week this weekend?
Tedesco, man. No doubt about it. We racked up one try, 26 runs, 315 meters, 1 line break, 2 line break assists, 2 try assists, and 13 tackle breaks. So that's
incredible.
For me, that's unreal.
How close is Teddy, do you reckon, getting back to that consistent Teddy form? I know, last year's a bit up and down. Like, he didn't have his best year last year, but his worst year, well, not even, I would say his worst year, but a down year for him, still an incredible, he's an incredible fullback. But do you reckon he's coming back to the Teddy we know and love, or do you reckon maybe he's just take it down a peg a little bit?
Look, I don't think that he really lost it, to be honest. Teddy's been incredible form regardless, He hasn't really lost much at all. No matter what he's aging or the head knocks, he's gotten through that, and he's just back to fitness. He's just fit, and that's the main thing. Teddy, man, he's unreal, and just his form at the moment is incredible. He's never really lost it, as I said, though.
Nah, he's never really lost it. Back-to-back weeks now, 4 team of the week for Tedesco, so I appreciate him absolutely killing it out there. So moving on to our wings, brother, we got Jason Saab and Jacob Gagai, brother. Touching on Saab, first of all, 3 tries in that Cowboys game. Even brought out the Bahia sort of, look out there, guys. Really, really amazing little performance there. Obviously getting back, obviously Turbo back and all that, but Jason Saab just stealing the show out in their wing, 3 tries. Jacob Gagai is someone I want to touch on with you with. Great performance for such a young winger, well, not young. He's actually like 28 or whatever. He's a late bloomer in rugby league and that, but very inexperienced winger in NRL. Had 2 tries in this one try assist, 1 line break. But the one we were talking about, bro, that try assist he had to Jack Whiten, like, not many people know how hard that pass is to hit at that point. Like, he was running full speed, had to dart it back on, like, right to left. Like, what's your thoughts overall on Jacob Gagai's game? Like, he's definitely grown to be a winger for the Rabbits, for the future, to have that backup winger option, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, well, look, when the Rabbits went down with a few injuries at the start of the year, like, Campbell Graham, Monroe, Isaiah Tass, it kind of looked like they were going to be a bit shot, but they got a bit of a shining light there at the moment in Jacob Gagai. So, yeah, he racked up, 2 tries, try assists, and 1 line break. So, yeah, he played absolutely outstanding.
Incredible, bro. We may as well run that into Dane Gagai and Grant Anderson, our 2 centers for the week. I've seen a lot of people put Beau Fermor in the team of the week, but you put it out to me, Grant Anderson, and just the form he's sort of slightly been in for the Melbourne Storm, for a guy that doesn't get a lot of raps, obviously, overall, but he had a really solid knock over the weekend, 120 meters, 1 try, 1 line break. Like, what are you seeing out of Grant Anderson, and your thoughts overall with him with the Melbourne Storm? Just another Storm player that fills in a spot, right?
Pretty much, man. There was a lot of stuff he did that wasn't on the stat sheet as well. Just his effort plays, backing up. A lot of his tackles were big tackles as well, like the pressure he was putting on those kicks when he was running through. I think he forced a couple of line dropouts off the top of my head. Yeah, he's just always around the ball, man. He's actually grown a lot this season. And I think that, he played unreal on the weekend, and it was kind of a bit light on for the centers as well. But yeah, Grant Anderson played unreal.
Yeah, well done. Oh, the chat is going mental. Guys, we'll get to the Doggies and Warriors game very, very shortly, guys. It's going to be a great little chat for that one. But Dane Gagai, bro, like, I feel like he got back in the
Adam
form.
G on more than Sean Johnson stayed at the Warriors, Jazzy.
Dane Gagai, brother, definitely getting back into form. Obviously, I think he wore that maroon jersey under that Knights jersey over the weekend. It's around that Origin time. He's had a sniff, and just that performance, bro, the weekend, as we touched on, 2 tries, 223 meters, 2 line breaks, 10 tackle breaks in that game. Looked freakish out there for the Newcastle Knights. Your thoughts on his season so far?
Yeah, I think they gave him a bit of a free pass on the weekend. He scored a try on the left edge as well as the right. So, yeah, I think they really started to hum, the Knights, with all their strike players back and Ponga back, and it really showed that Gagai had a bit more free time. And yeah, he really flipped the switch when he knew that Queensland jersey was going to be up for grabs. He went out there and took it. He didn't get offered it. He went there and took that jersey. So it'll be interesting to see him come up against Best in Origin.
100%. And moving on to our halves of the week, guys, we got Jerome Hughes, the guy who's possibly player of the season so far. I would think so. Like, would you agree? Jerome Hughes is probably up there right now. He's been incredible.
Other than Nico on Daily M, brother, you know how it is with that Daily M these days. But
6 points,
Jerome Hughes, Jerome Hughes for sure, brother. He deserves that halfback of the year so far, and potential Daily M of the year so far.
And even Wishart, bro, like, he's really stepped up in that 6 jersey, like, incredible performance, back-to-back performance, even with the goal-kicking boot, like, he was incredible over the weekend. Like, your thoughts on Wishart and stepping up for that number 6 jersey for the Storm?
Look, the last few seasons, you wouldn't ever picture Wishart to ever find a starting spot. You know what I mean? Like, he's played everywhere. He can cover anywhere. He's a footballer. He shows up, does his job. He can play anywhere from 1 to 13. Yeah, well, probably minus the props, but Melbourne have put him anywhere and everywhere, and it's a real breakout season for him because he's found a home in that 5'8" jersey, and he's probably drawing attention from other clubs to potentially chase him now and actually sign him as a 5'8". Now that he's showing a dominance in that position, like, he scored a try, 2 line breaks, 112 meters, 29 tackles. He doesn't shy away from the contact. He's a good runner of the ball, and he's just a smart footballer. So I honestly think that a lot of teams might chase him now and actually try and sign him as one of their main halves. So, yeah, very interesting. But, yeah, I really rate him this year. He's been killing it.
Yeah, he's been really, really solid. Moving on to our boys in the middle, and these guys I think have had like a couple of really big performances for Team of the Week for us is Mitch Barnett and Fisher Harris. Fisher Harris has grown an arm and a leg at the moment. Like he's playing on a different level, bro. People are like, he's not really a stats guy. He's throwing up stats now. Like he's been incredible for the Panthers. But even Mitch Barnett, bro, would you say that these guys may be in the running for, you know, prop of the year with 1 and 2? You know what I mean? What are your thoughts there?
100%. It just depends if they stitch Barney up because he plays back row a bit, that he mightn't be in the running for that certain position. You know, and then he's obviously got Haas to contend with as well in the props. It's sort of like Lua, you know, I don't know why the Panthers just didn't leave 6 on his back, because if they did, he would be 5'8" a year, hands down right now.
100%.
Because he's got 7 on his back, it's technically he's a half now, so he's got to contend with Jerome Hughes. But yeah, I think Barney and Fisher Harris are definitely the form front rollers of the competition right now.
Yeah, do you want to tell us who your 9 of the week is too, my bro?
Oh, look, mate, it's easy, Reed Marty. And I know you guys are going to hate, but, you know, to make 70 tackles is absolutely unreal. He didn't offer a lot in attack, but, you know, 70 tackles is unreal. And he actually probably saved the 1 field goal you guys are probably going to kick. So he actually got a hand to it and knocked it away. And to do that in extra time after making 70 tackles is unreal. I don't care who you are. So, yeah, especially against some big boys as well in Ads and Barnett. You know, those guys coming at you all game to rack up 70 tackles.
70 tackles is mental performance there, especially in defense against our Warriors there. Moving on to our edge back rollers, bro. We got Scotty Sorensen, a great like little player there at Penrith that just usually does his role, but in this game stepped up for the Penrith Panthers against the Broncos. 125 meters, 41 tackles. Very, very solid knock from him. Your thoughts on his season so far? I know he's had injuries to start the season, but he's starting to get back into that form.
Yeah, it's funny. You don't really notice the player until, like, in full detail until you put a bet on them. I had a bet on Scotty Sorensen to rack up the most tackles for the game, and man, just watching him work and how much work he does to actually cover Luai and take a lot of heat off Luai. And then on top of that, you add his carries when Luai comes to that edge and either drops him back under or punches a hole. He's played unreal. So I wouldn't be surprised if he signs to the Tigers. You know, there's not going to be too much of a home for him there on that left edge once Papali'i comes. It wouldn't surprise me if we see some news later on in the season that he might be on the march. And I think that'd be a really good pickup for the Tigers. You know, Luai takes his bodyguard with him. I think that'd be a really good signing for the Tigers and the signs that they're showing. He's unreal, Scott Sorensen. I think he's had a breakout season last year. And then this year he's just a bit of a quiet achiever again. But, I love his work rate.
An absolute freak there. And also Ruben Cotter, we put him out to an edge because we had to have Ruben Cotter there, bro. Like he's been unreal for the Cowboys when he could be there. He's probably their most consistent player throughout the majority of the season there. He still racks up all the numbers that he can. 48 tackles out of him here. 1 try, 1 line break, 129 meters. A big knock there from Ruben Cotter.
Yeah, look, I put him in back row because he actually started at lock, you know, and then he goes off for his little break. If he even goes off for a break, I'm not sure if he had a break in this one, but then he came back onto the back row or got moved out to the back row, and that's where he actually scored a try and racked up a lot more of his meters and tackles. So yeah, Ruben Cotter, man, he's unreal. He doesn't get the hype that he deserves. A bit like Barnett, you know, floats around to any position you put that guy in, he's going to do a job for you. So Ruben Cotter, and I'm excited to see him in Origin again. See how he takes it personally of that last Origin game, losing the battle of the forwards. Him alone will want to stand up and turn that around, especially in Queensland. So expect a big game from Ruben Cotter on Wednesday night.
I have a sneaky little suspicion. I reckon to defend on Angus Crichton, we may push Jerome. We may push Nanai to the bench and push Cotter out to an edge and start Kaufusi in the middle. I have a little sneaky suspicion that might be the way to go, especially the first impact of like a Kaufusi through the middle. I reckon that could be definitely a way to go. And when you have someone like Ruben Cotter on, you know, that Angus Crichton, I know that he majority defends in the middle, but he's been solid defending on an edge for State of Origin. Do you reckon that could be an option for the Maroons there to try and limit a lot of Angus Crichton?
If you want to limit Angus Crichton, you need to drop DC because he can't tackle for fucking shit. So maybe start Cotter at half to just do some defending. But yeah, no, look, you're 100% right. You know, he's really quick. He moves good laterally. and he doesn't really miss too many tackles. So him on Angus Crichton might be good. He's got a bit better line speed. He's a bit more developed than NI is. So yeah, to really start and take that grunt off Angus Crichton in getting momentum up, that mightn't be a bad option at all, starting him through the middle there.
Yeah, 100%. And finishing off, Keon Galon-Matangi, he's starting to just rack up these team of the week performances, like absolutely unreal. 37 tackles, bro, 23 runs, 221 meters, 108 post contacts, bro. Like, that is freakish from him. He's been unreal in the middle. What's your thoughts there?
Oh, man. Touched on him last week. I think he was our 13 last week as well, man. He's insane. So, again, hats off to Bennett for moving him to that middle, and I'm excited to see the Rabbits next year if they have an injury-free season.
Yeah, enough said, eh? Enough said. Yeah. He's a freak, man.
You don't need to touch much on that, man. 23 carries and, like I said, 108 post-contact. That's insane.
Woo! And Tans, we'll get to you very, very shortly. My thoughts on, like, the Origin squad and all that, and how we're going to use Walsh and Ponga. But do tune in. We will get to it a little bit later on. But really, I'll hold out that question a little bit later on. And also, Tans, it's only a prediction that maybe Scotty Sorensen will go to the Tigers. He's not going to the Tigers. There's no news on that at the moment. Brody doesn't have any inside knowledge. Do you have inside knowledge, you reckon, bro?
No, but there's got to be some sort of room made there in the back row for the Panthers, with them obviously going to keep Liam Martin, and they got Papali'i coming over. So I think Scott Sorensen's too good to go to a bench these days. So I think he might be on the move, and what better place to go than the Tigers, who are at the moment poaching from the Panthers. And I think that's great. And Jazzy, we have the bye, man. So we actually had a 4-point week this week with the win over you guys. So it's nice, bro. It's nice being in that 8.
It's what we could have had. And just to finish off, a couple of honorable mentions, bro. Cole Feltz again. 266 meters, bro. How, bro? He's really turned on the stats side of things, whatever, for run out at the end of the season. Ever since we've had that comment on my Brian Toto video, he's just turned up.
Podcast, bro, because this dude's just turned it up now. He's like, fuck that Ash guy. Like, I'm gonna perform.
He might be better than Brian Toto.
Getting there, bro.
No way. Yeah. And then Ryan Papenhuyzen. I thought, Ryan Papenhuyzen was really, really solid over the weekend. Even Brian Toto. I didn't even think about putting Brian Toto in, but I thought he was really solid against the Broncos as well, too.
Yeah, Toto was solid, definitely. It's just kind of hard when these guys have those spectacular performances, man, that as soon as they have like an average game, well, not even an average game, he still played well, Toto, but, he didn't have one of his amazing games. He kind of gets left aside, because you expect so much of him now. But I just think the wingers that we picked just got the nod over Toto. Saab doesn't do a lot of the dirty work. He kind of just has to catch the ball and put it down. But 3 line breaks, 3 tries, kind of hard to leave somebody out of your team when they're doing that. So,
yeah. 100%, bro. 100%. All right, moving on to our weekend breakdown, guys. So first of all, we want to touch on, guys, it's going to open up the chat right now. Go ahead, Brody, as much as you want. But the heartbreak at a core, Berto puts a dagger in the Warriors. Brody, like, your thoughts overall in the game. Like, I know that we've had chats back and forth at work about all this, but incredible, like, defensive performance from the Doggies, just to grind it all the way to the end. And as I said, like, the Doggies of a couple of years ago, they wouldn't have been able to do that against us, even with the amount of adversity that, like, the injuries that we had, that sort of stuff. I still don't think that, like, I think that we would have put a decent scoreline on you in past, but the Doggies that you have now, they find ways to win, bro. Like, your thoughts overall on that performance there, and as you said, a 4-point buy swing, like, it's put you in really good stead for the rest of the season.
Yeah, look, the first 20 minutes of the game really felt like finals footy. There was very limited errors. There was no real penalties. It was just end to end, and it was like whichever team can handle it the most. And then I think you guys scored first. I can't remember.
No, you scored first. The intercept. You had the intercept with Berto.
Yeah. So you guys started to finally build some pressure on our line there, and then Berto came up with that intercept. And it was definitely a 50-50 pass. You guys were either going to score untouched or the intercept, and we were good enough to ice it. But yeah, the real 20 minutes there, that first 20 minutes really felt like finals footy. And I think that first 20 minutes set the platform for the game. And I think definitely if you guys didn't get those injuries, you probably would have came over the top of us, in all honesty. But because of those injuries, the rotation, and how physical and fast that first 20 minutes was, your boys were really showed fatigue at that back end of the game. But you're right, 100%. Last year, you guys still would have rolled us. You know, that's just the type of team we were last year. I'm glad how far we have come. And defensively, we look so much better. Our attack, for me, is starting to fall back away to previous seasons, but we're still finding ways to win a game, and that's what I'll take from it. And yes, there was a lot of controversy. 100%, I agree with all of you guys out there. That was supposed to be a penalty. Any other week, that's a penalty and potential sin bin. I don't understand where it wasn't. It wasn't high, but it was definitely fucking late. So I 100% agree with you guys. I think the refereeing's been poor all year. I'll be quick to call a spade, and I thought we were very lucky to not have a penalty blown there. But it's just typical, man. That's what the refs do when the game is on the line. They put their whistle in their pocket and they leave it to the teams to deal with. They won't blow a penalty for offside, a ruck infringement, any of that. No matter how much you lay on them, no matter how much you're offside. If you go back and look at all those shots of field goal, I can guarantee you that all teams are probably offside trying to put a charge down
somewhere.
But they don't blow it, man. The ref puts the whistle in the pocket, and I think you guys are definitely hard done by there. So, but you know, we're going to play finals, so I'll take it. And you guys don't need it. Sorry, boys. Sorry.
Salt in the words. And again, guys, like he's put a nice link in the description or in the chat up below if you want to hear the doggy song again. But no, like my thoughts overall, bro. Like when in that game, I did feel like when it was like, you know, full team out of the park, 50-50, it was so back and forth. It was really, really close. I felt like we had the slight edge on you. Like we started to find the meters. We started to find a little bit of the ascendancy, especially through like, as we kind of predicted before the game, we're probably going to find our way in like better attacking positions for majority of this game. But it was really whether how many times we can crack you guys before you guys really get a stranglehold back into the game. And then when I felt like it was just on you guys. You defended your ass off, defended. Berto intercepts, bang. We end up going to a 12-6 lead by halftime, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure by So we ended up going in a halftime with a decent lead there. Well, you know, one try lead, which seemed to be enough in that game. Like you really did think that the way that both teams were defending, it seemed like it could have been enough. But coming out and finding a way that, you know, when Viliami Kickout came down with that ball, I was just like, come on, man. But then it even had another swing again. Like we had moments, I felt like that we had a lot of really good moments for field goal attempts at the end of the game, even though with the penalty sort of chat, like the field goal attempts, what we had, Tamade tried to go for one, miss one. Then obviously the penalty action there with Tamade. Then I think 2 or 3 more with Chanel. I think 2 more with Chanel that he both missed, and both of them were really, really close. And then on your end, I think you had 3 attempts or 4 attempts with Berto. So both teams were finding themselves in the opposite end and trying to make things happen. I wanted to get your thoughts on Leka Alasima, the debutant that we had. Your thoughts overall on him, like when he first came on the field, that big, you know, that charge over Bailey Hayward. Obviously, Hayward's smaller body in that, but like showed that little bit of ability there. And like, you know, he's definitely someone for the future, would you think?
Yeah, look, I thought the footwork he put on, well, first off, to find himself in the centers, create that line break, burn Bronson Cherry, and then put that footwork on Connor Tracy. Like, yeah, look, call it a few little highlights, but anyone to do that sort of stuff on their debut out of position against, you know, a fairly good defensive team, man, that's great. That's great. There's a future there for him for sure. And it just showed the effort, and he wanted to make a point when he came on the ground, and he did that. So yeah, he looks bright for the future, 100%. And you know, you don't want to quickly jump on somebody's hype too much. But man, that was a great game for sure. Like from that kid on debut, you couldn't be prouder, other than potentially if he scored that try, which would have won them the game. That would have been even crazier. But yeah, he played unreal, man. And I think the difference was the kicking game. Like Tamari Martin's kicking game was unfortunately off for you guys. I don't think he hit one cleanly to get a repeat set or good field position or anything, man. Whereas you see, like, you know, Burton found grass on most of his kicks, and then he found the try assist for Kickout as well. So I think that might have been Sexton. But either or, like the differences just in those kicking games probably got us across the line. So yeah, you can sit here and say that the ref at the end of the game did cost with a bad call, but I think you're 100% right where you guys had probably more opportunities and field position to ice those games, but you just couldn't build that pressure. You know, Tamari coming up with the intercept and then coming up with some kicks to the in goal. And that's not shitting on him. He played still well tomorrow, but these are just, you know, the big moments where you guys could have took that game and not even gone to Golden Point for a bad ref call to happen. So
exactly,
that's the difference, I guess. And at the end of the day, you just got to take what's in front of you. I know it's shit. There's been a lot more shit calls than this, and they'll continue to be shit calls. I don't know how the bunker can't get it right. It's so much grey space, so much grey space.
So much grey space. And like, you know, just before we touch on obviously the field goal and all that sort of stuff with Berto and that, I just wanted to also touch on, like, you're 100% right. I honestly do believe that we had a lot more of the opportunities in that game to do something in that game. We just weren't unable to finish it. And that has been the storyline mostly of our season. We've had some up and down moments where we were able to finish a game, put it out, but majority of those really close, tough games, we just haven't had that finishing ability in our squad that we had in years past, like last year. That, you know, that play with like Chanel Harris-Tavita to no looker to, I don't even think it was Montoya at that point. It didn't need to do that. We had Murata Niakorte just get over, but unable to get the ball down. Leka Halasima, you know, find himself nearly at the try line. You know, those sort of moments there where it was just like, we had so many opportunities to put more scoreline on you. And I felt like I've been saying the same story for a lot of games this season, to where, like, I feel like if there was a stat, like an expected try stat, we would have a lot of that there, like, but we just unable to finish on those, you know what I mean? And that's the biggest thing that we need to turn into points. And we wouldn't even be talking about the penalty if it even came to that point, right? Like, if Chanel Harris-Tavita put the game to bed, if Reed Marnie didn't touch the ball off that, you know, his charge down there and it went over the sticks, we wouldn't even be talking about that. So we had all the opportunities to win that game. Unfortunately, it just wasn't able to happen, even though, like, Brody agrees, I agree, like, you know, it hurts seeing that penalty and that, but also I want us to be a side to get over these moments and just be like, no matter what the ref does, no matter what it is, like, I think that we can't let that dictate our game. And I felt like that's happened a lot this season, as the referee has dictated our game to where the boys put their heads down instead of just getting on with their job. I think they tried to get on with their job in this game, which was good, but I've seen games in past, like the Melbourne Storm game, as soon as things didn't go their way, they just threw their hands up 2 sin bins later because of frustration, and we lost the game completely. We've had that multiple times this season. So the referee cannot, like, we can't allow the referee to dictate our game. We got to play our own game no matter what and see where the cards lie at the end of the day. And that's just my thoughts overall. I'm not taking too much, like, the penalty is a penalty in my opinion, but even then, I still think that we had the ability to win that game and we didn't do that. So that's the biggest thing for me watching that to think about. But any other thoughts on that before I go to Birdo and that?
No, that's exactly right, man. And like, it might have been a little bit different if tomorrow was in action of kicking a field goal where that contact came. Not that it should have been, it still should have been a penalty. I'm not trying to say that, but he was going for a pass out wide. So even if, you know, he wasn't hit late, you still weren't going to score on that play, but it should have been a penalty where you guys could have took the 2. So I get that, but, you know, you weren't even setting up for a field goal, and that was tackle 5. So just you were there again, moments. But you weren't even going for a game-winning play to try and ice that game. So, you know, it's just like you were missing Johnson and that leadership in that big moment. You know, like, as good as the boys have been and as good as they played all game, when it came down to, like, actually getting across the line, they just seemed to come up short. And and good on Berto for making the most of it again 2 weeks in a row. So that's exactly right. That's pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, touching on Berto, bro, 2 weeks in a row, he stepped up to the plate. And as I said, like, I know that his kicking game was definitely a difference this game. It definitely wasn't the best Berto kicking game that I've seen. Like, he had 1 or 2 moments of his Berto bomb, but other than that, I felt like it was very conservative, kick to the corner, very similar to a lot of, like, you know, the Penrith system, our system. He played that out, but it didn't have that. I think he only put up 1 or 2 Berto bombs where I was like, oh, like, that's going to be devastating. But his performances of late to really, you know, carry, like, the Sharks game's a big one where his boot kept you in the game. And I honestly do feel like when in this game, when we had a full strength side, his boot definitely kept you in that game comparatively to our boot put us away from our game as well. Like, your thoughts on Berto this season, and talk about the 2 daggers to get you 2 big points for the season. Like, that's the difference between sitting 5th right now or going where we are, like 13th. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, his kicking game 100% saved us in that Sharks game. You know, it was a little bit different in the Warriors game because we actually started to find some meters through the middle, and we didn't
Yep.
solely rely on that kicking game. But
Yep.
that Sharks game, 100%, he saved us every set. We couldn't get out of our 30, out of our 40, and then
Yep.
he just was patient. He was consistent. He found grass, kept pinning the Sharks back to their 10, couldn't get in range for a shot, and ended up us getting some good field position to get that win. Whereas on the weekend, yeah, you're right, his kicking game wasn't as good. He's only putting up about 2 of those BURTON bombs a game, and I don't understand why. As soon as he's on the 50, if I was him, I'd be whacking them up because fullbacks and wingers aren't even trying to catch them on the full. They're letting them bounce. I don't understand why he's not told to just whack those up every time that you're on that 50, especially because it's not too much risk with how well he strikes the ball. He's going to position it right almost every time. But yeah, the field goals, you know, I think he's got 2 out of he's had 6 shots to get the 2 field goals, but at the end of the day, he got it done. So I think, yeah, Berto's in some great form. I feel like I would like to see him get back to his form of running the ball a bit more and actually ball playing a bit more. I feel like the Doggies' attack as of recent hasn't really gone to the edges too well. So I don't know what's going on there, but I'm excited to see Burton in 18th man again for Origin and potentially get a crack if Bradley Best is injured. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm really, really interested to see how that goes, and we will touch about more on Origin a little bit later on. But a massive weekend for field goals too, my brother. Obviously, the Birdo getting over with our Wars. Then you had DCE getting over the Cowboys at that 1-point victory. That gives us a little bit of our top 5 clutch players. So me and Brody are going through a top 5 again, guys. It's going to be a normal segment for us, but I thought to do with the field goal attempts and all that. The top 5 clutch players in our opinion. So these are just our opinions of guys that we've seen growing up that honestly, if our life depended on it in many different situations, if we gave them the ball to win the game, these are the guys that I think would win me a game, and these are the guys that would win Brody the game. So Brody, who is your top 5 clutch players in the NRL of all time, if you call it?
Oh, look, I can't touch too much before like the early 2000s. Haven't watched a lot of footy since before then. But when you Google most field goals, there's guys that have like 60 in their career and stuff. But I think that's back when field goals used to be worth like 3 points and stuff. So it used to just be kicking them for fun. But as of recent times, you know, you can't go past someone like Nathan Cleary just on that sole performance of that grand final last year. The big moment needed to happen, and it was more than just one big moment. He had 3 big moments and pulled that grand final out of the fire. So for me, that makes Nathan Cleary straight away a clutch player. You got DCE, as much as I hate to admit, the DCE with his field goals. You know, he kicks them off his left and his right. He's won them so many games. He's kicked multiple field goals in a game as well before to win the game. And then I'm going to roll into Cooper Cronk and Joey Johns. For me, these are 2 guys that no matter how much their team is down, these 2 guys can always turn that tide with their kicking game, with their ball playing, to get their team across the line and get back into a game. And then Hazem Al-Masri, man, for me, just clutch. You know, if you had anybody in the world to pick to kick you a conversion from the sideline, or you're going to get shot in the head or something, you're picking Hazem. Let's be real with it. Yeah. You know, you can't say JT. He couldn't even win a grand final with the conversion from the sideline. You got to go with Hazem, all right? I'm telling you. He's unreal, man. And he's the reason I supported the Doggies was Hazem. You know, he showed that size didn't matter, man. He showed that nationality didn't matter. You know, he just showed up and he just turned the game on its head with his conversions and how good he was still on the wing for such a little body that grew up playing soccer. Legend. So you have to go with Hazem in that clutch players. So that's my top 5. Cleary, DC, Cronk, Joey Johns, Hazem. There's so many other names you can throw in there. You got your Brad Fittlers, you know, you got Matt Bowen. You got other guys that can, Billy Slater, you know, that can create something out of nothing. Cam Smith. You know, but for me, these guys, for different reasons, you go to them, they'll come up with a big moment for you.
Yeah. All right. So my top 5. So number 5, I'm going with the guy that, like, you know, this is the reason why I put him there. It's just the moments that I've had with this guy, you know, following the Warriors and that's Shaun Johnson. Like, I've thought of that many moments, bro, where we've gone into dire straits when things need to happen. We just give the ball to Shawnee and he'll do something with it. It may not only be a field goal action. He's done that a couple of times in his career, but he's also had those options where going to fake a field goal, nice right foot steps for the Panthers game, the Sharkies game with like thinking that nothing was ever going to happen, runs it from one side of the field all the way to the other side of the field, left foot step, finds this hole. Talk about the Kiwis against England, you know, in that test match, the big left foot step on, I think it was Semi Burgess, was it? I think he overchased on that side, whoever overchased him. Bang, left foot step, scored to try to win the Kiwis that test. Like, he's had so many clutch moments in his career. And it's the moments that I hold on to with Shaun Johnson. Like, he when he's on his game, he's one of the best players to watch, you know, highlight wise. He's just an absolute freak of nature there. BRODIE Fittler is my number 4. And this is mainly going back to when, like, a Queensland boy growing up. And this is the early 2000s when the Blues had a stranglehold on Origin for 3 series. They almost went 4 series in a row from memory, or 3 series in a row.
Yeah, something like that. Yep.
Yeah, and majority came off the back of Brad Fittler. Like that left foot step that he had, just those moments at the end of the game. There's another guy I'll talk about a little bit later on that definitely carried that mantle as well. But Brad Fittler broke my heart that many times, especially, you know, watching him in the Blues arena, thinking about, you know, even the Panthers days, even like, you know, the Roosters days. He's been incredible for his career. So as a clutch player, I would have BRODIE Fittler there. My number 3, Jonathan Thurston. I just had to have him there as a Queenslander as well. But again, like, to do what he's done for North Queensland as well. I know he missed the goal conversion kick there, but he also got the field goal to win the game. So, you know, in big moments.
That game, brother. Is he the clutch?
He's clutch, baby. He's clutch.
Poor Betty.
So Jonathan Thurston. Enough said, bro. Enough said. And what's that? Doggies first, you know, he played with the Doggies first of all, so maybe a Doggies junior, right? No.
Yeah, bro.
Good old Jonathan
I don't know
Thurston.
how he's playing for Queensland, man. He's a New South Wales kid.
Oh, here it is. Turn it up. And then my number 2, we got Andrew Johns. And like, as a Queenslander, I just got to give this one to you guys. Like, you know, Andrew Johns, like one of the greatest players, if not to a lot of people, the greatest player of all time. He like, just big moments, like, you know, talking about the 2005 series, like just clutch as in an overall game in that one, like to be brought back in that series and have one of the best, you know, Origin games of all time. Like, he's a clutch player that I know that if I just put him in a lineup, he's going to do it for me. You know what I mean? And the last one is a guy that I've been fond with since like pretty much all my life. He's pretty much the first person I saw when I was like watching footy when I was little, and I absolutely adored him when I was little. Darren Lockyer. Like, the amount of big clutch moments that Darren Lockyer has had, we're talking field goals from 50 out. We're talking field goals from 40. We're talking that intercept for the Blue, like, you know, to start the Maroons dynasty, you know, those big moments. You know, the kick to start off the Billy Slater, you know, chip and chase over the top. Yep. Like, he was the man that kicked that. You know, we're talking, remember Denon Kemp down the sideline, Denon Kemp, like, against the Parramatta Eels, little chip over the top, finish the game out, bang, they win that game. Like, just so many massive moments with Darren Lockyer. I think he even nearly ended his career was it that Dragons game where he almost, like, I think he won him that game, and I think due to that finals series he ended up getting knocked out the next week of finals. And I think in that game he was hampered with injury, he broke his cheekbone and still won the game for the Broncos against the Dragons. So for me, if I had any player that I could choose out of all time that's going to get a job done for me in a clutch moment, it'd be Darren Lockyer. I'll just give it to him. Bang, you do it, bro, you do it. So that's my top 5: Darren Lockyer, Andrew Johns, Jonathan Thurston, Brad Fittler, and Shawnee J, baby. Shawnee J.
All halfbacks, brother.
Yeah, it kind of shows, man. Like, you know, those are the guys that are big moments to step up. Again, we spoke about Mango a little bit. I feel like he was definitely an underrated name that I could have tried to fit in there. Benny Barber's another one, bro. In big moments, he stepped up. Chrissy Sandow. I mean, I've never thought of that, but Chrissy Sandow, bro, he's had a couple of massive moments for the Rabbitohs back in the day. His field goal attempts are fucking on a different level. Greg Inglis, I guess. Like, you just talk about like a guy that just steps up. Yeah, there's a lot of names you could fit in this list. Like, I totally agree. Nathan Cleary could have definitely been on this list for that grand final performance. Wouldn't you reckon?
Oh, standalone, brother. Standalone Nathan Cleary on that grand final performance.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Absolute gun. Absolute gun. Moving on to other games of the week. We're talking about obviously the Rabbits just continuing on their winning form, bro. 32-16 against the Parramatta Eels. Can the Rabbitohs make the 8, my brother? Is this a possibility? I know Latrell's injured now, but what's your thoughts there? Like, what's going on there?
Look, if Latrell didn't get injured, 100% would have backed them to be a top 8. But now, I I think they lose a lot now. I think, the form that Latrell was in and what he brings to the Rabbits team, I think that's going to be devastating for them. And I think that they missed the 8 now. I feel like they'll drop 2 of those games that I probably had them winning. Just the simple fact that Latrell is out. So I think they'll miss the 8 just. I think they'll finish in that 10th position.
Yeah. We're going to talk a little bit more about our ladder predictions after our Origin series. Obviously, there's no down unders next week, guys. Me and Brody will be at Suncorp Stadium. It's going to be a cracker of a match, and we'll get to that a little bit later on. But also another team that is up around that 8, chat right now. They've actually started off the season really, really well, but now they're finding a little bit of a slide. 3-game losing streak to the Dolphins, the Doggies, and the Titans. The Sharkies, brother. Nico Hines gone for 8 weeks now. The Sharkies, is there a possibility they fall out of the 8?
100% there's possibility, but now that you mention it, with Nico getting injured, it could potentially be another Sean Johnson moment, he's the best halfback you have, but he might be what's best for the team right now. I think Nico's been struggling again since, the Origin drama around him getting dropped, getting 1 game, getting snubbed. He could be really badly in a mental space, and it could be weighing the Sharks down. So, we'll see this weekend how they go without Hines there. But I feel like if they don't win this weekend, I expect the Sharks to continue to drop, which is crazy because on paper, man, they're good across the park. They're very physical and big in that forward pack, and they've got gun outside backs that should be getting the job done, but they're just not. And I feel like they've been really poor attack-wise recently. So I don't know, maybe it is Nico not playing with a lot of confidence. So we'll see what the difference is this week with Trindle taking the reins there and seeing if he can pull a Tamari Martin out and get the Sharks back on track. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, if they lose this week, I expect them to drop out the 8 as well. But, they might find some form this week and get a bit of a roll on again. How about yourself? What do you think about that?
You might have hit the nail on the head. It's very similar to our situation, and it's not just because Nico's in a mental slump. I do also believe that the Trindle's Hind combination is maybe it started the season really, really well. So this kind of that's probably devil's advocate for my point that I'm going to bring up with you now. But when you look at it, they're running 2 7s to really control that side, when I feel like their game plan really comes off the back of a ball dominant halfback and a running 6. They had a really good success really in the mid-season there with that Atkinson going to that 6 role and playing just second fiddle with Nico Hines. But when Trindle's back, he wants to touch the ball a lot more now. He's taken a lot of their kicking game away from Nico Hines from seeing him pass to. Do you think that could be the similar thing like what we had with Sean Johnson to Tamari Martin, where we're looking at 2 halves trying to battle with the ship there, trying to obviously control the ship? Do you think that could add in a little bit to that as well? Seeing that Trindle go to that 7 role, I think that they might help the Sharkies there too, just having a sole half that's going to direct them everywhere.
Yeah, I think so, actually, because I did notice that Trindle was playing both sides of the field a fair bit on the weekend. And, Trindle's that guy that's a bit of a football player like Tamari Martin, that he doesn't really want to be set to structure. He's like Sam Walker as well. They're 3 halves that they want the ball flat. They want to play eyes up. And when they've got that ball dominant half in the team with them, it just doesn't line up as well for what that team's, not what the team is trying to achieve, but for those players. They kind of got to be the 7. They can't really be the 6. And I know that it's just a number, but unfortunately, the 7 is the more dominant one and the controller of the team. And it works so well with Luai and Cleary because, when Cleary's not there, Luai will step up and be that 7, and he knows he can be that 7. But when Cleary's there, he knows he's the main man, so he just plays that second fiddle. And they do it so well, and that's why they've gone so far in the competition. But touching back on the Sharks, I think you're 100% right that is there for a little bit of that. And you might only see that they did well at the start of the season because they had a very easy run. So I think you're right where you said Atkinson and Hines, they actually probably won them some of the tougher games. And now that we're seeing them play some tougher teams again, they're losing. So I think you could 100% be right there that they're having a bit of the same dramas as you guys are. So, and it's really taken away from Blakey Brayley's game as well. He's really good attack-wise, but he's been very quiet recently with both Trindle and Hines there. He can't really get his attacking game going. So I dare say you'll see him run a lot more this weekend, and you'll see Trindle play off the back of that. So, it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how they turn it around, because I see very similar things. And as soon as you said that, it's like just sparked this in my head, just like bang, like we've had the very similar issue that, both our, Tomato Martin and Sean Johnson are both great halfbacks. And out of the two, unfortunately, Shawnee's injured, so he's unable to show that ability. But if Shawnee was fully healthy and running this side that he has now with a 6 like a Chanel Harris Tavita, I still think that would be doing just as well, what we were doing with Tomato Martin there. But Tomato Martin's fit and ready to go, and he's shown that he can work in that system as well, where he likes to be ball dominant, and he's been incredible for us. I know his kicking game was a little bit off against you with the Doggies, but again, we just both said we had a lot of the better opportunities there too, and a lot of that did come down to Tomato Martin too, being that gunslinger that creates things too. So I think that's a little bit what the Sharkies are missing. Like Nico Hines has to have the ball in his hands for majority for his game to really flourish. Like just watching their sets and have they, how they run tram line, where they, obviously put Britton Quarter on that tram line. And then Nico chooses whether he goes short side or, goes back to the open side shift. Like, it's really tough to do those sort of things when you got another dominant voice of Braden Trindle. That's a usual halfback that loves to talk as well and say, I see something on here, when Nico's trying to set up his own thing too. You know what I mean? Like, too many chefs in the kitchen. There's a reason why there's only one point guard in basketball. There's a reason why there's one halfback in rugby league. Is that's the sole voice that usually controls and gets points to the points of the field. Like, you have too much of that. You have the Roosters found that out with Kiri and Sammy Walker. So you're 100% right on that point there too, my brother.
Yeah, 100%. And being a half, man, it's like you don't just set up for just your one play to have your shot. As a half, you kind of got to take that whole set, and that whole set's got to be yours, because you want to get to this point on tackle 1, this point tackle 2, then have your shot. It's not like, all right, I've got to this point, and then you've got the other half screaming and they've got something on. That just throws it out. That half's got to control the whole set, and that whole set needs to go to that one half for them to really put in their game plan what they want to do. They want to get that correct defender at a defense that they want to target. And they can't do that if they get 2 plays and then they've got the other half screaming, no, this way. And that's where I really think it has come away from Brayley's running game at a dummy half, because, well, he can't think for himself on what he wants to do, because he's got this guy screaming and this guy screaming. He's got to see which one he wants to pass to. So I think, the sides that have that dominant half and that ball running 5'8" is the best system to go at the moment. I really do.
Yeah, 100%. Another team that's dealt with that too, the Newcastle Knights, you know what I mean? Talking about Newcastle and feeding into, obviously, KP returning over the weekend, a solid performance, him back, and he's back in Origin. We'll get to Origin very, very shortly, guys. But, the Knights, now having Will Price as their 6 there, a ball running, number 6 there, and now going back to Jacko just being the guy to really it feeds into the best part of Jacko Hastings. He's the guy that gets the forwards in the perfect points that he wants, and he sets it and dishes it out to KP and Will Price in the points that they need to. And it just adds to that point what you're saying before. When you had Jack Cogger and Jackson Hastings, it took away from a lot of those sort of things, because you got 2 ball dominant halfbacks trying to fight for the ball. Now you got one guy looking at the defense and setting it up for someone like KP that returned incredibly over the weekend. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, he played really good in the first half, and then I feel like he tried a little bit too hard in that second half, and it forced a lot of errors. And, that might have just been in the back of his mind that he's probably going to play for Queensland and probably going to be playing that middle role. So he just really wanted to get the contact in and run and take that contact running into the line, because he's going to be doing a lot of it if he has to play through the middle. But yeah, he was good, and you could tell the Knights were a different team with him back. So expect them to probably go on a bit of a run like they did last year.
Yeah, it does look very similar to that, right? Newcastle, setting themselves up for a nice end of year run, like a lot of teams in this competition. This competition is still so tight. And even players, teams at the bottom of the competition trying to find ways to get back into, chats again, looking at 2025. So the Parramatta Eels, bro, signing Jason Riles. Your thoughts on that? Do you know a lot about, obviously you knew Jason Riles as a football player, but as a coach, I've heard a lot defensive systems. He's great with defensive systems with the Roosters, the Melbourne Storm. He's very much like a Craig Fitzgibbon type of coach. Do you think he could be the guy to turn the Eels around, or is it too early to tell, just being a rookie head coach coming back into the competition at 2025?
Look, anybody coaching under Craig Bellamy at the Storm for a few years in a row now is a smart coach to try and sign to turn your season around. And I think that's what is hurting the Eels is defense. They're not showing up there in defense and their attitude. So I think somebody like Jason Riles, You know, I wouldn't know what he's like as a coach. You know, he hasn't touched base with the media too much or anything like that. But, you know, just being in that Melbourne system and knowing how that Melbourne system works, I guarantee you he'll bring that copy and paste Melbourne system over. And for a team like the Eels, that will suit them really well. We know they can score points. You know, Moses has got tries, assists for days set up once he gets the field position, but it's defense that's really hurting them. So if he could take that defensive mindset, no problem at all. I think he's a good signing for them. So expect the Eels to be back in the 8 talk next year.
Yeah, and like being a prop from years past, man, I could really see that he could do wonders with players like RCG, Junior Bolo, like those sort of boys are in the middle there, because a lot of their defensive breakdowns too, a lot of it comes from like, again, like when we had the problems with the Titans game, it was the middles not linking in without that edge. A lot of times I feel like when the Eels get cut back on the inside, their middles are taking rest breaks and there's just gaps everywhere. And you got people with their hands up everywhere. Gutho's throwing his hands up. Moses throwing his hands up. But like people are just not communicating and not communicating in the middle. There's no sliding in the middle. There's no covering in gaps. Like someone like Jason Riles, probably as a middle forward too, has a really good thinking about how the middle should defend. He would probably hopefully fix that up, because they definitely got one of the better forward rooms, in my opinion, in the competition. You look at, like, as I said, RCG, Junior Bolo, like we're looking at Ryan Madison if he gets back to form, Jermaine Hopgood if he gets back from injury, obviously next year. Like Sean Lane, that's had a massive dip into his career at the moment. They've got a lot of talented players. Bryce Cartwright's another one. Like there's a lot of players that he can mold, right, and really get defensive part in their game, because that's the one thing they are lacking with the Eels. And I think he can definitely change them, but I feel like it's definitely going to take a little bit of time. Kind of very similar to Craig Fitzgibbon, in my opinion. Wouldn't you reckon?
Yeah, 100%, brother. Spot on.
Yo, all right. Now, guys, we're going to move over to our State of Origin team preview. So, first of all, going through with the Blues, because honestly, there's not much to talk about with the Blues in this matchup, which is really, really, like, if for you as a Blues fan, it's a good thing, right? It's because the Blues 100%. Have always been a talking point of Origin, right? Usually the Maroons go under the radar, and the Blues are the ones that's spoken about every weeks and weeks out. Who do we drop? Who do we bring in? It's been a good vibe with the Blues camp at the moment, right?
Yeah, now the pressure's all on Queensland with the selections they're making and got people scratching their heads. So, you know, the 2 changes the Blues made, one was forced, obviously with Latrell out and Brest in, which is probably the next best option you could pick. Other than that, I think the Mitch Barnett inclusion is so amazingly good for the Blues over someone like Hamulin. And that doesn't mean that Hamulin's been bad. Or not Hamulin, sorry, Olakau'atu. Not that he's been bad or anything. He didn't do anything wrong, but I think just if you don't start him as a back rower, I feel like he's not a bench player that comes on. So I think someone like Barnett, who can fit any role in that forward pack, is much better. You know, the work rate he's showing this year and the player he's developed into, man, you can't not pick him for Origin. So I think that's a great inclusion for them. Whereas, the spotlight is on Queensland now for their selections.
100%, bro. Mitch Barnett. We'll talk a little bit more about Mitch Barnett. Obviously, you saw him firsthand over the weekend. You got to watch him and get your dogs and stuff. But you've also, just us, being best mates and all, like my chat around Mitch Barnett. You've watched, obviously, a lot of Warriors games and all that as well. Like, his growth ever since he's been in our club has been, like, out of this world, and he's grown into a player that I've said in like a couple of live streams and before on Wise Up TV, my thoughts of, we were so worried, ads is going to be a massive thing leaving our club because like the meters he gets through, all that sort of stuff, right? But Barney's starting to step up in that area there too, where he's become that dominant leader in the middle. And now we get Fisher Harris on top of that, which is going to be incredible. But if we didn't get Fisher Harris, I still think that he would be the leader that wouldn't drop us fully away from when Adam does leave. Like, your thoughts on that? Because his growth for us this season, he's grown into, for me, could you put him up as a top 10 front rower in this competition right now, around about that, top 15?
Oh, look, it's hard to tell. You'd have to go through, but just on effort alone, 100%. If you're picking a team tomorrow with the effort and leadership he's shown, you pick a guy like him. You pick a guy like Jake Travojevic. You pick a guy like Ruben Cotter. They mightn't do all the fancy things and the line breaks from front rowers like, Payne Haas does or Adden. They're not out here scoring a lot of tries, but they're doing all the work that you want in your engine room. They're leading the way. So a guy like Mitch Barnett, 100%, man. You consider him top 10 for sure this year.
Yo, and then moving on to obviously BRODIE Best, bro, getting back in the lineup. Really unfortunate Latrell is out with injury. First of all, your thoughts on Latrell going down with injury? Like for me, it sucks because like we're going to State of Origin at Suncorp. I would have loved to see the best players out there to play. Latrell would have been definitely there and up about for this game. Like that sucks. But yeah, your thoughts first of all on Latrell and then on you know, obviously BRODIE Best taking his position currently right now.
There's just always something. There's always something. It's like he gets to be, you know, he gets to show that he can do it, and then he doesn't have to do it when it's a decider. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't have to have that pressure on him because now New South Wales have the excuse of going, oh, what if, you know, Latrell played? We're never going to get to see and just have that full squad out there to the point where it's no what if, you know, which is the disappointing thing because it's like, all right, he dominated game 2, showed really good signs, and it would have been amazing to watch game 3 and have no excuse. But now there's like that question mark, especially if BRODIE Best either plays injured and plays bad or pulls out, and then we've got to play a third string center in that spot now. You know, there's too many questions, whereas it would have just been good to see Latrell in the form he's in that Origin arena, decider, Queensland, everything. You know, no excuses. Better team win. But now, you know, it's that question mark again, and there's going to be no criticism on Latrell. Again, like if he plays well or not in a decider, if he can get the job done. So that's what I'm disappointed to see is that there's going to be that Astro again in the Origin arena. So
yeah, I feel you on that. And Jazzy with a nice little like question here, my brother. Risk BRODIE Best with a dodgy hammy or call it early and get Burto in the squad for game 3? I think from like rumor, bro, apparently the hammy hasn't been too bad. I think he went for scans and I think it came back not too bad. I don't know if I've just heard that from somewhere and it's not true or that, but if he is risking it and he's just trying to get through training, would you just put Burto in there currently right now? Like just straight up Burto's in there, or would you just wait out for BRODIE Best to see how healthy he is?
Well, he didn't train, or he did train, but he didn't get through the full training today, BRODIE Best.
Okay.
But I think you try and play Best. I don't think Burto is ready to play center at Origin. I'm not confident with Burto to play center at Origin, just because, you know, he's a bigger body. He played center at the Panthers. Yeah, got that. But defensively, not even defensively, just he's not a natural center anymore. You know, he's such a 5'8" these days. The kicking game would be good for the Blues, but yeah, I think you play Best if he's over 80% healthy. You play Best. I think he's the best option. No pun intended, but I don't think Burto's just center there. I think, you know, if anything, I don't know. I don't think you play Burto. I think Best will be right. I think it's a bit of smoke and mirrors. I think he'll be all right. I think they're probably just trying to get a media story out of it. I reckon he's all sweet.
If it was Burto, does he get a couple more punches in on Dane Gagai because Gags has him up on like probably 2 or 3 in that fight from like a couple of years back?
I think Tino did more damage to him in that fight than Gags did.
That would be a crazy matchup, right? That would be the news story if Burto does get back in there. But I from all the news I've heard, I know that a lot of people are saying, that the hemi is dodgy and all that, and apparently he's not training and that. I heard a rumor that it wasn't too bad. Like the scans came back, it wasn't too bad. It wouldn't hamper, so he just needed a little bit of rest and he'll be ready to go. So I expect BRODIE Best to be there on the day. But I think Burto's a great fill-in, but he probably wouldn't be my first option there either. Like I feel like I agree with you. He's played a lot of 6 this year, even though he was a Dally M center a couple of years past with the Panthers, but he's been molded back into a 6 now. And like to go back to that center role, we saw him with the Doggies over the weekend where they tried to make that work. Was it the Roosters game where they tried to make that work and it just didn't work? He came back in later in that game to really play it off that 6. So I think it's similar with the Blues there. I reckon he'll do a job, but like for right now, State of Origin Suncorp, it's not for doing a job. It's to have a player there that resembles a lot of what Latrell Mitchell could have been there. And I feel BRODIE Best is probably your best option, no pun intended again, to be that left side center and really damage that edge. You know, coming up against Dane Gagai, who would know Dane Gagai more than BRODIE Best currently right now?
Yeah, and he doesn't need to worry too much about getting burnt speed-wise. So even if that hemi is at 80%, you know, he's only up against Gags. And Gags can break a tackle, yes, but he's not going to get on your outside too much these days. So, you know, he can defend well at 80% there, I reckon, on that hemi. And then, you know, he's going to eat up the meters and attack. And, you know, he could finish a try. He did it 3 times last year in game 3. So I think you play Best. You know, there could be a bit of smoke and mirrors. You know, Suolii's back from suspension. You know, they might pull the sneak cheeky and, whack him back to that right edge. I don't think they will, but, how crazy would that be, and you just tell him to go out there and give Walsh a bit of a scare again. And he's got a couple over the sidelines. So wouldn't that be crazy though, last minute inclusion? But no, I think best plays. I think the media's blown it up to be a bit more than it actually is. And I think that's going to be an awesome matchup to watch him up against Gags. They would obviously do a lot of left versus right at training. So I think that's going to be a fun matchup. They know each other's games. And I think that Bradnam's got a fair bit to prove over Gags to show that he's the best center at once. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. So expect a bit of fireworks in that one too. It wouldn't surprise me if they have a bit of push and shove as well.
Yeah, like from past, I've heard Brady Beskin from, bro. Apparently a really good junior Aussie boxer. Apparently if he wasn't going to be a football player, as you heard from a lot of rugby players coming up that have done boxing, they could have been something in boxing as well. So Brady Beskin from
in a preseason boxing match? Yeah, and that's a front
I think that was out of the past.
Yeah, that happened at the start of this season, so...
Yeah, he can from, I'm pretty sure was his grandmother or his mother can from, apparently, that guy, that family. But his dad's a Queenslander, and we stick with that. You got a whole lot of Queenslanders in your camp, and they're still there waiting to go. Jerome Blue Eye. Before we jumped off the Blues, though, my brother, obviously, for me, it's a very simple thing to really come out with, but I want you to say it overall is your game plan running into this. What do the Blues got to do to get the victory over the Maroons at Suncorp?
Oh, I think they've got to keep their patience. They're not going to score as many points as game 2. That's a given. And they need to not drop their heads if they don't score points early, because I can guarantee you that Queensland's defense is going to be a lot more on. They're not going to bend the line as much. They're going to need to rely on a kicking game a lot more. And they need to make sure that they're squeaky clean in the error department again and discipline. Otherwise, if you give too many penalties away or drop an early ball in your end, Queensland at home will be good enough to capitalize on it. You know that they're going to come hungry. You know that crowd's going to give them a lot of energy in attack and especially in defense. So they're not going to miss as many tackles. So they need to just stay patient. They need to really hum into that. It's going to need to be an 80-minute performance. You know, you can even say that they didn't play 80 minutes in game 2, as spectacular as that first half was. Yeah, they're going to need to show up. Game 2 meant nothing. They need to put that aside, and they just really need to roll and keep that roll on and bring that energy that they brung. And you know that Queensland's going to try and give it back to them as well. They just need to be really disciplined, I guess, and really focused on their jobs. But yeah, just not get frustrated or get their heads down if they don't score points, because it's going to be a lot harder. 100% a lot harder.
Yeah. I agree. I feel like from the kickoff is going to be, we're going to try and set the tone again. Not again, because obviously you set the tone in our last contest and we just couldn't win the ruck. It just felt like every tackle we're trying to go for were falling off you guys, and you guys were just finding your front, and it's just front foot footy. It's so easy for a halfback to look incredible off front foot footy. Even though not taking anything away from Mitchell Moses, he was incredible in that game. But when you got dominance and you got field position, you got front foot footy, the amount of opportunities you had on our line, just bang, bang, bang. It was a snowball effect, and that was a perfect performance for game 2. This one, it's just more about perseverance. And I think the big one that people should be talking a little bit more, Barnett back on the bench. When shit gets hard and you need to put someone on the field, your Spencer Leniu can come on the field as well, but you just know that guy, Mitch Barnett's not going to turn away either. So it's a perfect pick if you guys want to continue your momentum from the bench into the game, but also grinders that are going to grind it all the way out. I expect that Gerbo's probably going to play some decent minutes in this game, because it'll probably be a game that suits him, especially if it is that grindy football game. It's going to be longer minutes in the middle. I reckon his defense in the middle is going to be a big asset in this game. But I think Mitch Barnett's a massive, massive in comparatively to Olakau'atu. That I just believe that Olakau'atu's a starting edge back rower. I don't think he's an edge back rower that you can bring off the bench and just be go do it, brother. Especially when you got Liam Martin and Angus Crichton on your edges. So Mitch Barnett through the middle, continue that momentum. And I think that's your game plan is, as you said, stay patient, because this game is not going to go exactly how game 2 went, because game 2 was the perfect scenario. You got to dig deep for this one. And I think they got the team to do it. But moving on to the Maroons, my brother. Obviously, big talking points. First of all, KP back. KP is back in the lineup. Your thoughts overall on KP back in the lineup? Would you have gone KP this early on back from injury? Your thoughts on that? Is he too early back from injury? Or do you reckon he's going to go in there and do a job? What's your thoughts overall on that?
Look, I think if you're trying to focus solely on improving what went wrong in game 2 for Queensland, KP's not the answer. You know, to me, it was a defense issue. So why bring in an attacking player? They didn't bring anybody in to benefit their defense. For me, it is probably too early back from injury. I don't know what he's looking for in attack. I know it's probably just the cover in case, you know, a back goes down. 100% fair enough. But if that doesn't happen and we're just rolling through the middle again, what's going to happen when you guys are turning to your bench to find a fronty to try and swing momentum, and you got, you know, Fodawaker and Kafusi? That's your two front rollers. You know, you're expecting your starters to play big minutes against a team like New South Wales, who have so much strike power on the bench, let alone starting. I don't know what the thought process is there. And if you're going to play, you know, Grant or Hunt and Ponga through the middle, potentially all at the same time, how are you going to combat Spencer, Isaiah, and Barnett coming off the bench? You know, we're just going to roll through the middle. And I know that opens up your attack to be a lot better with the speed, but if defense is the issue, then what's going on there? I don't know the thought process behind that. You know, Ponga's showed that he could play through the middle before, but probably not against as good of a pack that he's looking at in the Blues at the moment. You know, it's probably the best forward pack that New South Wales has fielded in a long time. So yeah, I don't know. I just don't know with that one. For me, I would have liked to see potentially Christian Welsh on the bench for Queensland. He just tightens up everything in defense, man. He's in that Melbourne system, so it's solely defense first and effort. You know, he's another Lindsay Collins. But then with the ball as well, he offers so much with a late offload. And then you could have your Ben Hunts and your Walsh sniffing around the middle to get that offload, or someone like Christian Welsh. So I'm surprised, especially, you know, Billy being from Melbourne, probably playing a fair few games with Christian Welsh, he didn't turn to him. You know, I could be wrong and he could be retired, but for me, I would have looked at him potentially over someone like Kafusi, or even to fill that bench spot and not play Ponga. Maybe only have Ponga as your 18th man. But yeah, that's my thoughts there. I don't know how they're going to play KP. I really don't.
I really think that for me, it's tying in storylines. So to start the series, he had a game plan, whether, you know, carrying Cobbo on the bench to either cover their back line. But I still do believe if Walshy didn't go down, we would have seen Cobbo through the middle, very similar to what we're going to see out of KP this weekend. The only thing with Cobbo, he's a bigger body, and he probably 100%. Can maybe get through a little bit more of the middle work than what KP can. And KP's head knocks and his injury history worries me a little bit when he's got to defend in the middle currently right now when I'm thinking about how it's going to go. But what I'm thinking is that game too, it must have really nailed down that Cobbo must have not have been okay for that game too. Like there must have been something seriously there, because I honestly do think that he would have picked Cobbo again on the bench for game two and had to fill in that space with Catewell that obviously gets the starting spot in this one here too. I think he's also putting onus on the boys that were starting the game against the Blues, because for me, we lost the game in the early part of that first half, and we just couldn't regather from that. And a lot of it, again, has come from first contact and just dictating the game early on. If you dictate the game early on, it's really hard to kind of sway both ways, especially when you get when the Blues start to get a roll on, it's really tough to really dictate that. But I really do think that Billy's going to go to players like Collins and Carrigan and even Cotter, you know, depending on where he starts and stuff, or even Kafusi when he brings him off the bench, those sort of like players to be like, you guys got dominated last game. This is your opportunity now. I'm going all out with just you guys. We're bringing KP in as our attacking piece. You guys are going to have to fix that problem again. I'm not putting anyone else in to fix that problem. That's my thoughts in my head. I'm thinking that obviously he's looking at Collins and stuff that had off games in that game too, to not replicate that exact same thing in game three. But I agree with you. We do lose that little bit of impact of like when Spencer Linu comes off the bench, like who's going to be the guy to follow him? I think we're going to have to go Kafusi or Fodawaker, but will they be enough to, you know, counteract that? And then if we do get caught in a moment where we do have a couple of smaller men and KP in the middle when Spencer's on the field, that worries me a little bit, especially how hard, Spencer runs. And sometimes KP's head placement can be really off in tackling and defense. He can get bumped off, could be a head knock, and all the attacking plan that he had thought about goes out the window. You know what I mean? That whole thing is just gone out the window. So, but the positive of having KP on the bench, I do believe they're going to run a two fullback look in one moment of this game. I do believe that Billy's thinking that Game 2 is not going to happen exactly the same way. I think the boys are going to turn up and it'll be more probably 60-40 because I've always thought the Blues dictate field position majoritively in Origin. We just kind of hold in there. But as soon as we get into good field position, that's when we're just going to strike in moments. And we've done that before in a lot of our better Origin games, as you've seen. KP playing probably on the right side, in my opinion, sweeping off that. And then obviously you're having Walshy on that left side that's been cutting that left side to shreds. That first action, the first 5 minutes of that first game, then game 2, even game 2 where we got dominated, we had Jaden Sewer make a big line break. Reese was having moments early on in that game and then he just went completely missing as soon as the forward pack lost the battle. I feel like those things change now. That's the positive of KP, like just having those extra players, play both sides that can really create something, bang, just like bang, put points on the board. That's my whole thought on it, is like he's going all out on when we find positions, we're going to strike and back that our defense within those other moments is going to fill in there. So he's putting a lot of onus on those starting front rows and that to really hold in the contest. It's a very risky game plan, but if it works, it's really what he's trying to replicate.
I don't know. I don't agree with that because their attack wasn't the problem with the one fullback look. It really wasn't. In every moment they got some field position, they scored. So for me, you didn't need to bring another attacking piece in. You needed another defensive structured person in the middle. Walsh did fine. You guys scored every time you came down our end. Like you said, the early line break down that edge. It worked fine with just Walsh. Having two fullback look, well, that's what your second half is for. You set up with your half and your fullback on either side, or you make your half switch to the other side and you run the two halves on one side. I feel like Ponga's footwork around the ruck will be good, but then you're just getting too complicated because then you're going to take away from Benny Hunt's running game out of hooker as well that he likes to do, Harry Grant's running game, as well as trying to feed your halves and now two fullbacks. Whereas like you got nobody that's really owning that engine room in defense. And I think that's where they really need to look. Like, don't get me wrong, Ponga's going to have great moments in attack, and their attack will look good. But I'm just thinking, what's the point of attacking if you're just getting dominated in field position by somebody eating up the meters in the middle like Spencer? You're never going to really get the field position to have that attacking shape if you don't have that engine room first. I don't know. That's where I'm just looking at it, and I'm thinking, well, the ball can only go one way, so why do you need two fullback shape on either side? Like, maybe just play like Gags a free roaming center role or Hammer a free center roaming role like Travojevic used to do when he played center, that second fullback look. I feel like there's going to be lacking a bit of size and they're putting way too much onus on someone like Paddy Carrigan, Ruben Cotter to play big minutes because then it takes away from them doing anything that they want to do in their game because they're too fucked from making tackle after tackle on big bodies. I don't know. That's just how game 2 went. And as I said, it's just a piece. Like I can 100% see where you're coming from. Attack, it's going to look spectacular, but that attack means nothing if you're just on the back foot the whole time. So that's, I don't know, defensively is where, to me, he needed to improve, and I don't see an improvement there.
I think you could take it as also, though, like to counteract that, like you would agree that you had probably the perfect performance in that, like that first half, right? Like you had one drop ball, and that was barely even a drop ball with Stephen Crichton. Yous won't do that again. Like, I honestly, I don't believe these will do. Like, errors are going to come. Like, they will come. So I think that he's, again, like, I completely agree with you. Like, defensively, we're going to have defensive moments again. We're going to be on the back foot because that's, Origin's been built off that. Like, as a Queenslander, how many series have you, like, or as a Blue, how many series have you ever seen Queensland dictate the middle of the field and dominate you guys through the middle? How many times?
A few times, to be honest with you, man. With your line speed and defense.
Majority of like from me growing up is like we've defended our line back to back to back to back to back, and we're just holding in, and you guys just crack, and that's when we find our way through. Usually that's the way we win our games.
For me, it's you guys turning the screws with Cameron Smith kicking early, and then we can't make it out of our end. So you guys dominate that line speed, that middle. That's what's lacking now in this Queensland team. There's no line speed there and controlling the tackles. We're just getting that bend of the line and finding our front. So that's what's missing for you guys, in my opinion. Yeah. And you guys, to me, that is dominating the middle. You used to dominate the middle that way.
Yeah. See, it's a different way of looking at it, but like in your attacking ball, you guys definitely get the better field position in Origin. It's just been happening for years. Like for me, it's ever since you had Payne Haas's of the world, you got Angus Crichtons of the world, you got all these boys that have turned up in Origin that have just put on performance after performance. But your halfback has always been the issue to where like you just weren't able to put the points on the board in those big moments for the last couple of years, right? We'll put the last couple of years in there. We've built our game off of the last couple of years just defending our line with our hearts and just defending. Like we did in game one. I know you were down with 12 men, but as soon as you start to feel like you hadn't had an ascendancy for a little while and that, then errors start to come in your game, and then we bang off the back of that, and we have players like Walshy and strike off the back of that. And I think he's trying to pick his moments with KP to bring him on the field where he feels like we got the ascendancy of like breaking your hearts a little bit and add that piece on just to be like, all right, we're going to put the daggering him in this moment. It's a dangerous game plan, bro. I completely agree with you because we are going to lose that one piece that you're right. We definitely need to dictate, like change that game. But I do feel like even with Christian Welsh in the middle there, I don't think that will end up like holding you down your own end properly. I still feel like you're going to dictate the field position in this game. Like it's a bit hard, like, you know, when you got Spencer Linu, Payne Haas, you got Mitch Barnett, like even Angus Crichton, Liam Martins of the world, you got field position. Like that's just the way it's going to happen. Like we don't have players like that are going to bend you. We don't have Tino in this one. We don't have Dave Fafita, which is a questionable call. And we'll get to Dave Fafita as well. But out of that, right, if you didn't have Christian Welsh, like we're throwing up names of Josh Papali'i to come in. Like a lot of people are saying Josh Papali'i. Like even if we had Trent Liero in there, bro, he's not going to help us defensively to hold in like Payne Haas from getting 150 because he's like, he averages 150 at Origin. Like that's incredible. You know what I mean? Like those sort of players
Yeah. But Christian Welsh, for me, he doesn't stop them running that meters, but he slows down to play the ball with his wrestle. Yeah, that's where I'm thinking a guy like him that's in that Melbourne system with the wrestle, the way that they slow down the ruck, legally, illegally, whichever way you want to call it. He does that so well for the Melbourne Storm, and that's where they gain their momentum back in attack, in defense, is by the way that he wrestles. You won't find him lose a tackle too much either. He will always seem to somehow win that tackle. And I think that someone like Paddy Garrigan needs someone else like that in the middle. So you're not going to limit them to 0 meters, no, 100%. But the play the ball speed is what you're going to limit them in.
Yeah, I agree with you there, bro. You got some really good points because you're right. You're completely right. Like we needed someone that probably dictates that a little. Like from game 2, the biggest worry was that we were falling off tackles. You had quick play the ball speed and you're fighting really good field position off the back of that. And we didn't have anyone that was going to hold down in the ruck. And when we did, like it just wasn't working for us. I just feel like that game for me, like not to say like that mattered, right? But it didn't matter. Like I just feel like the forward pack that we have there is going to go out there, especially with all the media going out and saying that you guys got dominated, you got bullied. Like they're going to do that. And he believes in those boys that they're going to fix up those problems. And then he was going to feed off the back of that to his first plan. I believe if KP was ready to go in game 1, he would have been Selwyn Cobbo in game 1, in my opinion. And that's why I think that this is his game plan. Like he's stuck with this thing the whole way through. He hasn't really changed it up. The only big change he's made is no Jaden Sewer in this game, which is coming out. Apparently he's going for scans to injury. Whether you believe that or not is what it is. But, you know, Kurt Catewell feels in that position. He's stuck to no Fafita. Everything else he's been consistent with the whole way through of the way he's going to run his game plan in that. So he believes that this game plan will work. It's on him now to make it work because it's worked for us the last couple of years. I know not carrying that second player on the bench and that, but this is the game plan he wanted for game 1, and we're finally going to see it in State of Origin game number 3, if that makes sense, because we weren't unable to see it in game number 2 due to the dominance through the middle with the Blues.
Yeah, fair enough. I agree.
Yeah, but it was good, bro. Dave Fafita, bro. Your thoughts? Would you have Dave Fafita there? We'll put it on there.
Yeah, look, I would. Over Catewell, I would. You know, like effort-wise, probably Catewell's a bit more there when it comes to off-the-ball work. But other than that, if you're talking about strike players, then Fafita needs to be there to bend the line, to get a quick play of the ball, to break tackles. Catewell doesn't offer any of that, in my opinion. He's just probably a little bit better defensively than David Fafita and effort-wise, but attack-wise, if you need somebody to break the game open, then, well, David Fafita is probably one of your best back roles in the game to do it. So, I don't know. That's a weird one for me. I don't know what he's done. There's rumors that it's because he backflipped on the Titans. So that's potentially it. Because DC didn't get picked for Queensland when he backflipped on the Titans for that year. It could be the same sort of thing. But yeah, I think it's just Billy's way of thinking at the moment is that he doesn't want guys that backflip on their roles and responsibilities and contracts that they sign. Then that's probably the standard he's setting for the Queensland team, that he doesn't want guys that are undecided if they want to be there. So maybe that's the approach he's looking at. But for me, I would have David Fifita in a team that's struggling to make meters and have any sort of dominance in field position.
Yeah, he definitely would have been probably the only other player that, when we just spoke about just before, he'd probably be one of those players that could help with that a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, if we're trying to get out of our own end, like, he's probably the one that take the carry to get us into really good field position. When we're in attacking ball, he's going to take up a lot of like Mitchell Moses' time, because he's just going to be worried about Dave Fifita a lot of those times. Kurt Catewell's not going to give him that same like headache, in my opinion. So I would have had Dave Fifita there, and I was thinking that he's going to be there, especially off, like, I felt like Dave Fifita's game has grown from the start of the season, because he started the season not that great. Like, to be honest, he came back with a pec injury, and he took a little bit of time to really warm back in again, but he's starting to hit some sort of form, and I can't really see what, like, defensively, effort areas, sometimes he can be caught out, sometimes he gets blowing pretty early on due to coming back on an injury, but I believe that if you're going to get him for 80 minutes or probably 60 minutes at the best, I would have had Dave Fifita in that lineup, in my opinion. And at the moment, Billy's just playing with that. In Billy we trust, and agree, like, until Billy puts a foot wrong, if he loses a series to this is going to be the one thing with Billy, is like, why didn't you put Dave Fifita in? But at the moment, if he gets this right, then it's going back the other way. But I feel for Fifita a little bit, because I do feel like he's grown in that area since the start of the season, if you get what I mean. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. He's been great since he didn't get picked for that game one. He's been outstanding. Back to one of the best back rolls in the comp behind, Ali Katoa. But yeah, Fifita, he's formed in a team like the Titans as well, where they got different players playing in that spine each week. They've been struggling, and yet he's been a shining light still, game in, game out. So
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know how Billy can sit there and say that he's not back to form, because he's back to the form that he can possibly be in, short of having a good spine around him. So yeah,
I think you're right. I think it does come back into not just football. I think it's a little bit more than that. It has to be something of like, either there's a mentality there's something there that he doesn't like. But to end off with the Maroons too, my brother, Gagai and Cobbo come in for Murray Talangi and Coates. Obviously, force changes due to injuries with both those boys with hamstrings. Were those the two boys you reckon were going to be there, no doubt about it? Or would you have anyone else in mind in those positions? Like, how do you feel about Gagai and that coming back in?
Nah, with the injuries that they've got, I think that's all they're left with. There's nobody else really to pick there. You don't play Ponga on a wing or in center or anything like that. I think Valentine Holmes probably plays his better footy on the wing. He has for Queensland, at least in my opinion. He used to be so strong defensively, but he's lost that. So I think you put him on the wing. He's good at eating up meters out of his own end. He's a good finisher, so him on the wing is great. Cobbo on the wing is great. He doesn't need to worry about defensive reads or anything like that. It's just, again, finish the tries, eat the meters up out of your end, and leave, the vet in Dane Gagai to D up on his center pairing at the Knights there. And I think, it'd be a really good matchup. Gagai's always been pretty solid defensively. The only time he ever really had worries in the Origin arena was against Latrell. Queensland, that's a blessing that he's going to be not there. So makes, Gags' job a little bit easier. And the hammer in the centers is probably going to be one of the players of the series, win or lose. So, I think that's the choices you have to make in that back line. They're pretty short on options in that back line. Queensland, as soon as they get a few injuries, there's not too much else to pick there. They used to have the Edric Lees, the Corey Allens that would, do a bit of a job, but they've kind of disappeared now as well. Tessie News' name's been thrown out there, but, there's not much.
Xavier Savage has been named too. Yeah, I've heard it. I don't know your thoughts on Xavier.
Pick him, please.
Honestly,
the dude that runs backwards every time he gets the fucking ball.
I know how you feel, but guess what? If he puts that Maroon jersey on, probably he would turn into a different player, I reckon.
Nah. He's a bitch.
He reminds me of Jake Momo, bro.
Oh, straight up.
But yeah, bro, like that's pretty much it with that Queensland squad. Like we pretty much touched on everywhere. Jaden Stewart out. Like, would you like? What's your thoughts there? Like,
I was surprised he got picked at all in Origin. Yeah,
I
he's been
I
good for
thought
the
he was good
Dragons.
enough. Yeah.
He's been
But
good for the Dragons, but when you got Fafita, Nanai, those guys, yeah, I was surprised he was picked at all. But I'm
yeah,
just going to keep that short and sweet.
Yeah, hopefully he learns a little, like, from this experience and grows more as a player, because he's got a ton of potential, a ton of talent in that.
100%.
But a couple of errors in the arena there. He had a couple of good moments too, but he's definitely going to learn from that experience. And again, like, we're not replacing him from someone that hasn't played Origin before. Like, we got Kurt Capewell there, but like, I totally agree. Like, Fafita would have been the best man there, but that's just my thoughts overall. But lastly, on the Maroons, bro, your thoughts, their game plan in this game, how they should attack the Blues, and your areas of how they, their area for victory.
I don't know, man. Down that left edge, I guess, is where they've had their most success so far. So stick to that. Their kicking game will be a lot better. Like I said, they won't miss as many tackles, so they're going to be a lot fresher. They're going to not have to make as many tackles. They'll get better field position. They'll get a bit of the run of the green, obviously, with calls from the referees as well, being at Suncorp. It's just how it goes, especially if there's momentum swings. But yeah, I think Cherry Evans will need to be on one with his kicking game. Expect Ben Hunt to do a fair bit of it at dummy half early as well, to really try and set the tone for Queensland, to say that we're going to pin you down your end. And then I think it'll come down to whoever cracks first with an error and gives up field position. And then from there, it'll be whoever can hold on to that momentum, or if the other team can wrestle it back or not. It's as simple as that. And if you're Queensland, again, in my opinion, if you don't have the forward pack off the bench, like you don't have guys to swing that momentum other than Ponga with attack. You don't want to be on the back end of that momentum. You don't want to be trying to wrestle that momentum back when you've got the guys that New South Wales have on the bench that can bring momentum back through their defense in Isaiah Yeo and Mitch Barnett. I think it's a risky game, but attack wise, Queensland probably will look better. Potentially, or they might have too many chefs in the kitchen. You never know.
Could be that too, yeah.
I'm sure they're working hard at what they're wanting it to look like at training right now. And I think Ponga is definitely dangerous around the middle with tired forwards. But how tired are those New South Wales forwards actually going to be with the rotation they've got? And they don't have the biggest bodies in the world that running at them to try and stop, whereas the Queensland 4-pack do,
Yeah.
That's where it's going to be one for me, is in the engine room. It's depending how Queensland can hold that New South Wales engine room, and then who takes advantage of their moments when they get to good field position. But the Blues got to really show a lot of patience, which I know that they don't normally have, especially someone like Mitchell Moses. It's either you're on or you're not. So that's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, I want to, the way I'm kind of envisioning it, for me, it's 100%, I agree with the engine room of it, but I think it's a game where DC's kicking game is going to have to take over, and Benny Hunt's kicking game. I think that's the one big area we lost in the last game. When you've got the ascendancy, the best way to drag that back when we're on the back foot is those early kicks for 40-20s, or trying to just turn momentum back the other way. Get you guys, your big forwards, to turn back around, get behind the football. That's the best way I can ever see it happen. And like at Suncorp, it's usually a good pitch for a good kicking game. We've seen it in the past with Benny Hunt, 40-20s in Origin. We've seen in DC a lot of those big moments have come at Suncorp, and the ability that those guys have, the experience that those guys have had, they're the ones they're banking on, especially in this game, to be just kicking you guys to death and try to hold you out. It's going to be easier said than done, because you guys have shown your back line can turn it up, and you got Zach Lomax that's been incredible. You got Brian To'o that's incredible out of the back end, but the only way we can combat that as well is an early kick, fourth tackle kick, turn you around, really just beat it down to your end, hold you into a corner, and just try to dictate that terms that way. Because I believe that the amount of run meters you have at your back end, you're going to get yourself in a good field position. We're just going to have to continue to turn you around. I think that's how the Maroons know how to do football. That's how they play football. I think that's the way we're going to have to attack. And everything else off the back of that is just, honestly, it's going to have to just be big moments and just people snatching moments. And KP back, we're hoping that he's going to be all good 100%, but he's a guy that can snatch a moment. And Reece, the amount of errors that he's had in his game, but he also is a guy that he's going to throw that pass that may, break the camel's back. Like those sort of big players, we have that there. We just got to do it. Like we got to stay there, stay in the contest. And I think the energy, as you said, at Suncorp, everyone on top here, it's going to be a different Maroon side running out there. And like, that's the thing. It's why, as we said before, the Blues just got to stay composed and get through a football game and like just play out your set. With Mitchell Moses, as soon as, like, you see it with the Eels, as soon as he gets on the back foot, he goes sideways too much. He wasn't on the back foot against us in Origin 2, and he was looking incredible. He's playing direct. That's the best way to go. But if you put him on if he understands that he won't be able to crack us with the first, second, third option, he starts going out the back, and he's just all the time 100%. Out the back. Like he's happened in game 1, where unfortunately you're down to 12 men and you're trying to get around us instead of just playing direct football. That's the way I see us winning this game. But your last score prediction, I know I've just jumped you on that. I don't think you've had a score prediction written down, but because we haven't got a show next week, score prediction, do you think the Blues can get this done? Game 3, State of Origin, Suncorp, brother.
Yeah, I'm going to go 18-12 to the Blues.
Love it.
18-12. Yeah, 18-12. Yeah. Yeah, if not lower, like a 12-6 or a 12-8. Like it's going to be a close. There won't be many tries in it. I really don't see many tries. I'm
following you at the back of that. I'm going to go the way of probably, I'd say 20-16. I'd say that it'll be a try in it. I really do believe that it will come down to a big moment. And that's just really what Origin is. Like we've seen it in past, Benny Hunt, charge down on Cleary, like those sort of moments. Like for you guys in the past, like Andrew Johns' moments that he had, Brad Fittler's off the left foot, like just big moments. It's Origin. That's the way it is. So, but really, really excited for this game, bro. I'm really, really excited for this game.
It's going to be good. I'm keen to watch it live.
Fucking oath. All right. Have you got another overrated, underrated, fairly rated, my brother, before we get into our weekend Punter's Paradise?
I do. But there's 2 other things I quickly wanted to touch on was how outstanding it was watching the Roosters game live. I don't know if anybody in the comments got to actually watch that, but the crowd getting behind Spencer Linu off the back fence was insane. And then when they didn't go to him, they actually booed. They booed their team, even though up by 20 points or whatever the fuck it was. They booed not seeing Spencer come off the back fence. I thought that was unreal. I just wanted to throw that in there. And I was a little disappointed with the try celebrations for Try July. There was a lot of tries where guys didn't celebrate, where it's like free money from Sportsbet. Like, fuck, take Sportsbet's money. Nobody ever really gets to. Like, there was, like, for me, man, I should have been a try after every a celebration after every try, but there was a lot where there wasn't. And I thought that was pretty disappointing.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll hopefully see they turn it up this week, hopefully.
Did you hear, lastly, before you jump into overrated, underrated and that, but the story of Spencer, apparently he went back in the shed, like after the game, Brendan Smith came out on the bye round with James Graham, looked directly at Sam Walker and said, if you ever skip me on a pass like that again, like I'm going to dominate you. Like,
I love it.
That's incredible,
That's what
right?
You want, man. That's insane.
Bro, and shout out to Hardgraves too. 307 games, like just did it Hardgraves style. Gets put in the bin, blood everywhere.
Yeah. It's not a Hardgraves game if you don't get sim bin.
Bro, you
kind of been a market on Sportsbet.
It should have been a market, right? And it's kind of like the changing of the guard. We got, Warrior Hargraves and Spencer Linu. I honestly do believe Spencer's probably going to end up becoming like a Warrior Hargraves for the Roosters in the future. 100%. I kind of see that, but that's just my thoughts. But yeah, bro, let's get into overrated, underrated, fairly rated. I love this segment. I loved it last week.
Yeah,
so
sweet, bro. I don't know how many I've got here. I think I've got like 12 or so. I kind of actually took a couple off. But let's get started. We're going to jump in with Joseph Tarpany.
Ooh, underrated, because I honestly do believe that out of all the big front rows that get spoken about, Fisher Harris, your Payne Haas's, your Adam Fanua-Blakes, your Leotas, I feel like he's the one that always gets left out till late. Even Tino's and stuff like, and what he does for the Raiders, his offload ability, his tackle break ability, but even when he steps up to the Kiwis, bro, he's like, I thought that he was possibly the best for the Kiwis in the series, but Fisher had that other one. Adam G, underrated. They're giving it to you there, bro. But your thoughts, Tarpany, what do you reckon?
Yeah, bro, I definitely think he's underrated for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
And then we're going to go, a legend of the weekend. We're going to go Max King.
Oh, underrated, bro. Underrated. For that doggies forward pack to do what they do, bro. Like, my thoughts on Max King, bro. Like, I had him in Supercoach a couple of years back. I thought he was absolutely amazing. And just for a guy that got pushed out of the Storm system, just one that got let go out of nowhere, and he's gone to the Dogs and just been outstanding. Like, not a lot of Storm players that believe that system become like he has. And, he's incredible, bro. In the middle, works hard, offloads, big man. Underrated.
100%. KALYN Ponga.
At the moment, fairly rated. I there was a moment he was overrated early on in his career, and it was because of the highlight plays. Like, people could see the potential in him, but I felt like when he got signed on a big contract for the Knights, it was kind of like, come on. Like, I understand what he was trying to do there. But then there was a period there where, like, through injuries and stuff, I feel like people started to really take their eyes off of KP and some of the hard stuff he started to get into his game. And then now I feel like he's a fairly rated fullback. Like, I think he's one of the best fullbacks in the game, but I think we're going past that whole point of he's the next generation. Like, he's going to be as good as Billy Slater, which a lot of people were saying in the past.
Yeah.
I think he's a great fullback, but I think he's fairly rated currently right now.
Yeah, I agree, brother. I 100% agree. He's that different type of fullback to the typical ones we're seeing come through now with the work rate. You know, he's the fancy type, like a bit like Walshy. So, yeah, I agree. We're going to go with Mitch Kenny.
I would say currently right now fairly rated, and like you could sway underrated a little bit, but I think there's I know a lot of people say that he doesn't get spoken about, but I hear him spoken about a lot at the moment. Like, defensively, he gets through his work. He's a great like hooker in the middle, but I don't think he'll ever crack to be like a different level type of hooker. I think he'll always be what he is right now, and that's defensively sound and just service on the ruck. He won't be an Uppy Coruscant. He won't be in that upper echelon, but he does a job, so fairly rated.
He fits the Panthers halves in Luai and Cleary so well. He gives them that clean ball out of dummy half, whether it's a 20, 30-meter pass or if he's feeding Isaiah Yeo. He just picks his moments. You know, you're not going to get a try too often out of him scooting through, but you don't need that when you got the guys like Cleary and Luai out wide. So, but yeah, defensively sound as well. William Kennedy.
Before you get on, bro, before people get all like, say, probably like, you know, that was a bit harsh, maybe. If Mitch Kenny wasn't in the Panthers, let's say the Parramatta Eels need a hooker right now, do you think Mitch Kenny would change the Parramatta Eels right now?
I think he'll do a job defensively and he'll tighten them up. But I don't think he's going to go to the Eels and win them a premiership if that's what you're asking. I don't think he's going to add too many points to a team like the Eels, but I think he saves them a few points. But yeah, I don't think he's going to turn them around too much. But I don't think the hooker will turn them around too much at the moment.
Yeah, I agree there. And out of all the Blues hookers, do you reckon he had an opportunity to play for the Blues this year?
Nah.
And that's where I kind of sit him, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, not that he's bad, but I think he's found such a good home there at the Panthers, and the system works so well for him, to the point where I think he stays there. But yeah, I think Appy Coruscant, Reece Robson, those type of guys are in front of him for that Blues jersey.
Yeah,
in my
agreed,
opinion.
bro. Agreed. Yep.
William Kennedy, brother.
William Kennedy, underrated. He's getting close to fairly rated because I know there's a little bit more chat around him and stuff, but like the work rate he gets out and the way he links up with like when that Sharks team's playing well, he's an underrated piece of why that Sharks team plays well. But why I would say fairly rated is when things don't go right for the Sharkies, you can kind of see why he's not like leveled up as the upper echelon of fullback. Like, I don't think he'll ever get there, but I don't think anyone expected him to be an upper echelon fullback. So he's exactly what he is, but I still would teeter the side of underrated, you know what I mean? Just out of all the Sharks players, he's left behind a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. He's not going to get, if you need a try, he's not going to get into first receiver and deliver you a try like a potential Walshy or KP or anything like that. But work rate out of the back, outstanding, you know, not too many errors in his game, and he links in with his back line really well. So, I agree. Luke Brooks.
I still would teeter at the moment as overrated because like it depends on like, so with the Tigers, you're seeing a very similar thing. If you don't have DCE next to him, he's got to run the show. He just can't step up to be that guy. The reason why I probably say the lower end overrated, maybe fairly rated, is I don't know if people expect him to do that anymore, like being that 6 and that. He had a cracker start to the season, but he's kind of mellowed out at the moment, and he's just been a good 6 in the comp. He's not been the Luke Brooks that everyone's been saying since his junior system that he's going to be the daily M7 of the year that he was in the past. So yeah, that's my thoughts, bro. About overrated to fairly rated, around about there.
I agree, and I'm going to taper that in. He wasn't my next one in line, but someone that's quite similar to me now of going down that Luke Brooks road, Ezra Mann.
Ooh, I would say overrated currently right now, as in to be like, people think that he was going to be the Origin 6 right now and do a job there. But people are forgetting the one big key part of the game, because there's two parts of football, is like attacking wise and when he plays on the front foot. I don't think there's a better six in the competition when it's like that, right? But when we're playing on the back foot, you know what I mean? Like off the calf.
He's a top 5 when he's on, but there's so many times where he's not on.
That's the whole thing, is when they're on the back foot and now he starts to go out the back, or just off the kicks, those sort of things. It doesn't work when you're not playing that front foot type of footy. I just feel like he's been getting slapped with that. You're going to be an Origin 6 straight away. He's got to fix up his defense, bro. He's the worst defensive 6 in the competition. And statistically, it's shown that. He's conceded the most amount of tries for the Broncos this season. So he's got to fix that. It's the only thing for him. But when he gets there, he'll be fairly rated, bro, for me. But
he's still young in his career, 100%. But at the moment, I agree, he's overrated. But he can easily fix that. He's shown it. He's shown so much potential. So
he has.
Christian Welch. What's your thoughts on Christian Welch?
Right now, I would probably say a underrated piece for that bench rotation of the Melbourne Storm. I don't think he'll be that first man like he used to be with the Melbourne Storm anymore. If you're talking about Christian Welch right now, I'd say underrated. If you're talking about Christian Welch back in the day and all the rats he had for the middle, I'd say fairly rated. I felt like he did a job. He did what he was supposed to do, but he was just exactly what he was planned to do. You know, he's what he was on the box.
I 100% agree. Yeah, that's exactly right. You're buying exactly right. It's no Timu.
No. I just want milk that tastes like real milk, and he's real milk, bro.
Exactly right. All right, rolling into Nelson, big Nelson of Solomona.
I still think he's overrated. I know there's a lot of big Nelson lovers that want him at the Warriors and that, but I do think that he brings an ego with him that I don't think we need at the club right now. And I think that football's changing from a big front row pack type of thing. He still can damage a game, but he'll do one game and then the next 5 games, you just won't see it out of him again. So for me, just overrated.
I agree, 100%. He's a man that big, you should be fucking dominating. But
100%.
Anyway. 3 more, brother. We got Dylan Brown.
Ooh. For the pay packet, and I'm going to tie this in because there's a lot of rumors of him coming to the Warriors. I'd say overrated. We don't need him at the Warriors. I think for the Eels, he's fairly rated, right? He's a 6 he's probably one of the best 6s in the competition, defensively strong and all that. But for a 6 that's going on the market that, like, a lot of people are saying, get all our halves out and get Dylan Brown in, he's going to fix our problem. He's not going to fix our problem. He's a 6 that plays off the back of a good 7. He's not a playmaker, as in the fact of he's going to carry a team through a really tough period. I think that he's probably a good 700K, 800K 6, where a lot of people are chasing him for $1 million. I don't think he's there. Not yet.
Okay. When you look at it in that
he's still
regard,
got time to grow.
Yeah. When you look at it in that regard, when you're talking about pays, I agree. But I think he was actually a shining light when Mitchell Moses was out, when he moved to 7. I thought he was still really good in a struggling Eels team. And I think if he actually got to just play his 5'8" role that we've seen a couple of years ago when the Eels made the finals and the run that he was on, I would say that he's fairly rated, and I reckon he doesn't get talked about quite enough. But when you look about the money and I guess the hype around him potentially going to the Warriors, I think when you talk about it, that would be an overrated signing. 100%. He's not going to turn your guys around. I think you guys stick with Tamari Martin and Luke Metcalf or Chanel. But if Dylan Brown went to somebody like the Roosters with Sam Walker pairing, that is unreal. You know what I mean? So I think he's fairly rated. I wouldn't go as far as saying Dylan Brown's overrated. I think the hype that you're talking about is definitely overrated. But for me, I rate Dylan Brown and his work rate and what he did for the Eels, even though they didn't win too many games, but just the effort he put in when Moses was away, he shows that he can be the main man. But he got no help there. He was playing both sides of the field. He didn't have Gutho there, and he was still looking pretty good, still racking up the Supercoach points. So, I do rate Dylan Brown, but I wouldn't say that he's underrated. I definitely think he's fairly rated.
Yeah, I just wouldn't say he's a piece that, like, as I said, like, you're going to drop $1 million on and he's going to be the guy. Like, for the Roosters, again, I agree. Like, I think there's situations where he's fairly rated, and then there's situations where, like, a lot of people think he's going to be the halfback that's going to carry us into a new era, which he isn't. Like, I think he's a really great 6 that plays off the back of a really good structured game plan. So defensively, he's fucking unreal. I can't take away than that. But I agree, bro. I agree. He's probably teetered between, for me, I'd say more so fairly rated now. I'll sit around there, but I'll stick with that. Let's go.
Yeah, I think you think just mainly the hype that people have on him to change a team right now is overrated. Yes, but player wise and what he does on a field, yeah, definitely fairly rated. Rocco Berry.
I still have him underrated, and mainly because like injuries is the reason why you haven't seen him consistently throughout this whole season. And when he's been there, he's been amazing. I know there's been a couple of periods where defensively he has dipped off a little bit, but like statistically, he's still our best defensive center in our team. And like, you know, just all the effort areas that he has is the best part about him. And the way that all the boys talk about him at the Warriors, they say he's top level. His ego's in check. Like he doesn't talk that well, but when he's on a football field, he's an absolute dog and will work hard for you. So I love him like that. I don't think there's ever been like, I've always felt like some Warriors fans really just don't like Rocco from what happened in the COVID period. But I feel like if people saw the potential that he has and what he's done for what he's gone through in that period, I think he's an underrated player currently right now, teetering onto fairly rated.
Yeah, look, I'm waiting for a breakout season from Rocco, I guess. But I think fairly rated for sure.
Yeah.
And lastly, I've got Cody Walker.
Oh.
It's a tough one.
So this is
tough. All three. You could go all three.
I know. It really depends on how he rolls up on a day, and so that will sway me to overrated, right? But like when you think about when he's had moments of years where he's just consistently 30 try assist years, like he throws, like when he's playing the role that he's supposed to be playing, he's absolutely incredible. But when the team's on the back foot and he's not really the guy to really take him out of a hole, if that makes sense. I feel like he's a combination piece. He's like that added piece on top. So I agree, bro. He could honestly be all three, because I do think that there's a lot of people out there that absolutely hate Cody Walker and think he's like not that great. And I'm like, bro, like a player that 30 try assists a season, like that's a great player. But then there's also those players of people that are like, he's the next second coming of everything. It's like, no, there's like times in his game where he can get lazy. So would you call that fairly rated then? Would you see it fairly rated?
I would say fairly rated. You know, a guy that had to take the long road to get to NRL as well. He didn't get any special treatment. You know, he came in, debuted at 27, 28. And then he's still, you know, he can compete at Origin level. You know, the Game 3 meant nothing last year, but his performance at Game 3 last year of Origin, you know, he's played a couple of grand finals. You know, he's had some bad moments, but, you know, he has some really spectacular moments. So I think you got to say fairly rated for a guy like Cody Walker. So
100%, bro.
I think
100%.
that's where he stands.
Yeah, it depends on like how he turns up on a day, right?
100%. You put him in the Roosters or someone like that, he kills it. Panthers kills it.
Yeah.
You know, but exactly. Rabbits, where he unfortunately has to be the main man, fairly rated.
Yeah. 100%, bro. 100%. I love that segment, man.
That's all I've got. That's all I got tonight.
Sweet, guys. All right, we're moving on to our Punters Paradise. So we'll probably round through this fairly quickly in that. But obviously, guys, before we jump into all this, because we're going to be talking about betting and tipping and all that sort of stuff, guys, if you're going to go have a bet this weekend, make sure you gamble responsibly out there. Don't go too crazy. We don't go too crazy. Me and Brody, we try not to anyway. So make sure you guys don't go too crazy out there for this weekend. So, brother, the first game of the weekend, we got the Dolphins versus the Rabbitohs at Redcliffe. So, it's going to be a really good game here. Obviously, Origin players are out. Jai Gray comes in for Latrell Mitchell, down to injury there as well. Cam Murray is out, but we just know that Galamatangi, what he's been doing for the last couple of weeks, he's going to just fill in. He's been doing it for the last couple of weeks, like playing in the middle, playing that lock position. For the Dolphins, interesting ones. Kurt Donahue, Jeremy Marshall-King, Felice Kafusi are all out of the lineup. Trey Fuller comes in at fullback here for the Hammer. That has been out for the last couple of weeks anyway. Max Plaff goes to 9. Tavita Pengai Jr. starts in that 10 role. Your thoughts on this game? Does the home field advantage the Dolphins a little bit? Will you sway their way? Or do you see the betting market at 227 for the Rabbits a little bit tasty?
I think the home ground advantage means fucking nothing because they don't play out of Redcliffe enough. But I think Pangai starting is Bennett's mentality of an ambush early, and I think that he'll be sending him after Keon, especially because it's Bennett's move to play Keon through the middle, right? So he's obviously knows what he's dangerous and what he's going to do. So don't expect anything less than other than Pangai to come straight after Keon and try and really limit the forward pack meters he eats through the middle there. As for the rest of the Dolphins team, Trey Fuller will do a great job at the back. I think Latrell is the biggest out of these teams. I think Max Plaff is a great player. He'll do the job he needs to do in hooker. And then, I expect Katoa and Nikorima up against Walker and Whiten to be a really good matchup. But then I'm just going to give the edge of the back line to the Dolphins. It just depends on what Pangai you're going to get through the middle and if he can hold the likes of KALYN at bay. But I think the Dolphins, with the value, I think the Dolphins are great. $1.64, I think 1 to 12, they're not a bad option as well. But I think they'll get the job done. And that's my first value multi of the week. I did write that down somewhere. I've got Dolphins 1 to 12, Osaka anytime, and KALYN anytime, and that's $20.25.
Oh, that's juicy, bro. That's juicy. Has KALYN scored in the last couple of weeks? Do you know?
It's been scoring almost every game, in my opinion.
Yeah,
not in my opinion. Off my top of my mind, I think he didn't score last week, but I think before that he did.
Yeah.
So
definitely some juicy odds there.
Yeah, if I go into Sportsbet, it tells me how many he's scored recently.
While you do that, I was like, I agree with you, bro. Like, I think Latrell Mitchell is definitely the massive out in this game. Like, for the Rabbitohs, they've been really playing off the back of the energy of Latrell coming back into the lineup. A lot of players playing in key positions now of like, Cody Walker is back in that 7 role and he's teeing up with Latrell Mitchell. When those boys come together and play good football, like that's when the Rabbitohs play their best. I just don't know if they're going to continue that on with Latrell out of the lineup. Jai Gray comes in. Great. He's a great little player in that, but he's not Latrell Mitchell like for the Rabbitohs. He's not that energy piece for the Rabbitohs. And whether, they can get under the skin of Cody Walker and throw him off his game and that sort of stuff at, KO. I see players like Herbie Farnworth doing some wonders. Yeah, because you're right. That backline battle, like Herbie Farnworth against Richie Kennard, it would probably be, wouldn't you reckon?
Yeah.
That's a juicy little matchup there too, bro. But has KALYN scored in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, so he scored 4 out of his last 5 games. Oh, sorry, 3 out of his last 5 games, but he scored 4 tries in his last 5 games.
Jeez, bro. $20.25, guys. So jump on that. Brody will chuck all the bets in the chat, in the comment section down below after the show too, guys. So go check it out if you do miss out on the show. Any other bets you have in that game, my bro?
Nah.
So we're both going to Dolphins here, you reckon?
Dolphins, yeah. I'm going Dolphins.
We're going to Dolphins, guys, at KO Stadium. Moving on to the second game now of the weekend. We got the Sharkies versus the West Tigers on Friday. PointsBet Stadium. Obviously, the big news, no Nico Hines. No Jack Williams apparently here with the lineup. No Talakai either due to suspension. They fill in those pieces there with Teague Wilton comes into the lineup. Other than that, really, Jesse Colquhoun comes into the lineup as well. And moving over to the Tigers, who have been fairly good in form. I thought they had a decent performance there with the Storm until a little bit late where it blew out. I thought even then they tried to hold into the contest. Justin Olam comes out of that lineup though, which is really stinging for them because I thought he had a lot of good opportunities there. Adam Dewey is still there though. Your thoughts on these two sides? Do you think the Sharkies go on a tiny bit of a slide? Does it start now or does it start later on? What's your thoughts?
I think they'll be desperate this weekend, and I think they'll get the job done, especially being at home. Expect Trindle to be able to have a really good game. I think if you don't have him on Supercoach, he's definitely one to pick up. I'm not sure what he's running at the moment, but I think Trindle will have a really good game. It'll be a tough one. I would probably go the Sharkies 1 to 12. I think they'll get the job done. They'll be desperate. I think they will try and manhandle the young forward pack of the Tigers, and they'll come over the top of them.
Yep. I agree with you there, bro. I think the Sharkies will be good for this matchup. Where I do see them teetering is a little bit later on when they're starting to misplay like Nico Hines. But I think Braden Trindle will fill in and do a job here. And as we touched on before, I think that could possibly unlock the Sharkies again. You know what I mean? Their attacking problems could be unlocked here with just a halfback just wheeling and dealing. So unfortunately for the Tigers, it could be a little bit more of a slide, but it could be, as you said, what, 1 to 12 matchup you were saying here?
Yeah, I think 1 to 12.
Yeah, the Tigers seem to be that side that's going to hold it really close. So I'm going to go to Sharkies at home as well. I think that will help them just a tad in this matchup. Moving on to the next matchup here, we got the Titans versus the Parramatta Eels at Seabus Super Stadium. Mo Fodawaker is out due to origin duties, but it looks like Jaden Campbell is back in that 6 jersey for the Titans. That would push AJ Brimson. He's in the reserve, so I thought he was going to be in this game here. Maybe was he out injury last week? Was that right?
No, he played last week.
Yeah. I'm not too sure what's going on there.
That's an interesting one. I thought he would have maybe moved to the centers.
Would you say late change, Beau Fermor, that's sitting in that center role, that's been playing fairly good at center, but he's definitely not a center. Would you say that will probably move around a little bit?
No, AJ didn't play last week, so he might still be carrying an injury.
Yeah, so maybe he'll be a little bit later back into the lineup.
If he does jump into that lineup this weekend, expect him to play center, and then Beau Fermor to either push to the bench or back to the back row. And then I think that strike on the field with Campbell, AJ, Foreign, and Keeney, man, that's dangerous. I think they'll roll the Eels, and I think they'll do it. Probably 1-12 as well. I'll go. I reckon it'll be a tight one. But yeah, I like that. David Fafita anytime. Yeah, Titans 1-12. What's that paying?
What's that paying, Tans? That looks juicy. That looks nice.
Yeah.
Lofi, first, second, third. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. I agree, bro. When you take away that piece of Mitchell Moses has been put back in that lineup, you've seen a little bit of a spark with the Eels again. You take that piece back out of there, you're left again with Dejan Arce and Dylan Brown, like as we said before, is trying to hold up the ship there, but just not a lot of help that's going on with the Eels currently right now. And the Titans, they're starting to get back into form. They got a little bit of Hasler's blood, like just in them at the moment. Like they're defending really hard on their line. So I think the Titans, bro, and I think they can do this well. I reckon, 13 plus could be it.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the Broncos versus the Dragons, a massive matchup here for the Brisbane Broncos that are trying to get back on the winning form. They're on the 5-game losing streak. This is one to change the game over, or is this not? All Origin players are out of this matchup, so obviously Tristan Saylor comes back into that fullback role. Josh Rogers comes into the 7 for Jock Madden that went down with that hamstring injury in that last game against the Panthers. Xavier Willison starts up front. Jordan Riki comes back into the lineup with Katoni Staggs. Blake Moser is coming back off the bench in that 14 jersey. For the Dragons, no Benny Hunt, as we all know, no Blake Laurie, and no Zach Lomax, but they have got Jack Bird back in the reserve sitting here, so whether he's a late change in, who knows. But I thought Fiangai has been playing really, really solid there in that center position. I thought he was one of their best actually against the Roosters, if there was any player to really point out there. So your thoughts here, do you think the Dragons have a chance against the Broncos at Suncorp?
Yeah, I think so. I think this one's definitely a flip of the coin. I think the Dragons have more decent players still in. I think they're less depleted. I know Ben Hunt's out, but he's the main one that's out. Other than that, they're pretty standard, their squad. It'll just depend on how the young halves pairing now will do for the Dragons. But, the Broncos are still struggling with injury and Origin. I don't know which way to lean with this one. I really don't. I'm just going to lean maybe just towards the Broncos because I feel like they'll be very desperate. And it's at home, and they can't afford to drop too many more games if they want to be finals contention. But I can definitely see the Dragons winning this one. I really can. Very tight game. Flip of the coin.
Yeah. I'm going to sway the way of the Dragons, bro. And it's more so like I think the Broncos are going to be up for it and all that. Like they're going to try and like get back to their form. But I just have a feeling about this game that sometimes I think that like Broncos fans are still teetering at that point of like, it'll be okay. We'll get back on the horse and we're going to make the 8 again. I really have this feeling that this is going to be the moment where it's like, we're going to lose this game. They're going to lose this game and be like, oh shit, what do we do? Like, I just feel like the Dragons can do that. They've proven it in the Origin period against the Panthers as well. You know what I mean? Like they've had some big moments against some big sides. What will make it close though is having like obviously Jordan Riki back in this lineup here. But again, like Josh Rogers as a 7, he's definitely not going to be a full-time 7 either in NRL. So it's tough, bro. They don't really fix any problems that they've had before for me. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm swaying away at the Dragons. 268 for the Dragons head-to-head. If we're thinking 50-50, there's value there.
Yeah, that's nice. Or at least you picked the line for sure.
I like that, bro. I like that. So you're going the Broncos. I'm going the Dragons.
Yeah, I think I'll lean just the Broncos. I feel like they're going to need to win. It's desperate.
Yeah. Wow. I would agree with you there. I just have this little feeling, bro. I don't know what it is. I just got this little feeling. And then last game of the weekend, we got the Seagulls versus the Knights at Four Pines Stadium. So a massive name here out of the lineup. Obviously DCE, Jake Trbojevic, no Tolu Gola due to injury. Ben Trbojevic is also out of this lineup for the Seagulls. But Jamie Humphries, their rookie halfback that is currently, I'm pretty sure he signed on to go to the Eels, or is it the Raiders? It was one of these sides. I'm pretty sure he's ended up leaving. No, he's gone to the Rabbitohs.
The Raiders. Oh, Rabbits?
Is it Raiders? Is it, yeah,
I thought you said
he's
Raiders
going somewhere.
He's leaving.
He's leaving these guys, but he comes into this lineup. He's got a lot of ability, so I'm really excited to see how he goes here. Lehigh Hopewadi comes onto that winger position there. Tommy Turbo's been named at fullback. Whether he plays there, we'll soon wait and see. With the Newcastle Knights, Bradman Best out. You reckon? I have a feeling about that too.
I think Talau will go back to the wing and Hopewadi will go to fullback, Trbojevic back to the centers. I
have a feeling about that.
See why Talau's playing center in this game.
No, I agree with you. Just judging by the history too, Talau's been playing wing pretty much all season, so I would totally agree with you there. And with the Knights, no Bradman Best, no Dan Gagai, no Inari Tuala, no KALYN Ponga. So Fletcher Sharp comes into that fullback position. Christian Mapapalangi comes into that winger role. Thomas can't. Can he do it? No, he can't. Comes into that center position. Greggy, I had to do it, bro. I had to do it.
You have kids out there, don't you, bro? When are you going to tell Taylor?
Mad as a dad joke going on there, bro. But your thoughts on this game? Is Four Pines Park good enough for the Manly Seagulls without DC to get it over the Knights that have been pretty much devastated with players out in their back line here? Your thoughts?
Yeah, look, this is a tough one. I think Dylan Lucas will do his job at center. I think that's a great move. I think potentially the class of Turbo being there will probably get Manly across the line just. I was leaning towards the Knights, but I am now going to swing, especially with Ola Kawatu getting to play for Manly. I think that's a big piece to really stop, the likes of Frizzell and KPP. So yeah, I'm gonna give Manly the nod, just the simple fact that it's at home, but it would not surprise me if the Knights can get it done.
Yeah, I'm going to sway the way of the Manly Seagulls as well. I agree with you. I think I know Turbo didn't have his best game last week, but just that extra superstar piece there to really try to break the game open, whether he finds himself with the ball in hand a little bit more. And I think Jamie Humphries, I know it'd be first game in that 7 jersey for the Seagulls, but he's got a lot of ability. So it's a wait and see to see how he goes against this Knight side that, again, has been Fletcher Sharp, Mapapalangi, Dylan Lucas, Thomas Kant in those back row, other than Greggy Marju, who's that usual winger on the edge there. So I can see why people will probably go to Knights, and even at 298 is not too bad of value there for the Knights if you want to go head-to-head there.
I thought it would have been closer.
Yeah, 100%. But I'm gonna go Manly at 4 Pines. I think that's the way it's gonna go.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, my brother, just to end it off, I also will go through actually, I don't have any more value bets. I thought I had a value bet on, but I haven't put it on anyway. But make sure, guys, to check out Brodie's bet slips here on the comment section after the show here. Brodie will chuck them up there, bro. But you got any other thoughts before the weekend here?
Yeah, no, I did whack up another one there that is involving every game. So I've got Dolphins head-to-head, Sione Katoa anytime, try scorer, Titans 1-12, Broncos all Dragons 1-12, and Turbo anytime try scorer. That's $23. So I did post those up earlier. So they're the two that I'm going to be riding this weekend. I couldn't find much value in same games this week, other than that Rabbits Dolphins one. Other than that, it's a bit tough to find a bit of value in same games. So let us know if you do hit any, or if you guys get any up. Post up your bet slips in the comments next show.
100%, bro. And you got a game on this weekend or what?
Yeah, I got a game on this week. We are playing Pine Central Holy Spirit. If the rain holds off, we are pretty much guaranteed to play finals. We've got 4 weeks left before we play finals. We've got 3 games. We've got a bye involved in there. I've also got a weekend away, so I've only got 2 games. to get myself right, which I'm pretty much week on, week off at the moment anyway, with knocks and bruises. But yeah, we've got Pond Central this week. If we win this week, we should sum up a top 3 spot, which gives us 2 cracks at finals as well. So it gives us that second chance. It's a top 5 this year. So if you finish first, you get a week off, and then you play the winner of second and third. If you win that, you go straight through to the grand final. So you have another week off.
Nice.
If you lose, then you play the winner of third and fourth. And then roll it that way. So I play halfback, brother. So next time, you know, the Warriors have a field goal opportunity, put me in. Apparently you guys need it.
Halfback. Call out Brodie's name. Brodie can honestly play half. He could play hooker. He could play multiple different positions, but halfback is definitely where it's at. And Jazzy, where are you and opposition sitting, Brodie? Where are you sitting on the ladder, brother?
We are coming second, brother.
And your opposition?
This weekend, our opposition, they're out of the finals. I don't think they can play finals, or they might potentially be pushing to try and get finals. So they are sitting 6th currently. So yeah, actually they are trying to push to make finals. So they're 2 wins behind the 8. So they almost need to win every game on their way into the finals. So they'll be desperate this weekend. So yeah, but we are sitting 2nd. We're tied 1st at the moment. So yeah, interesting.
Let's go, brother. Let's go. So all best luck for you this weekend too, my brother there. The doggies got the bye. We got the bye. So there's not really going to be much to talk about for Warriors and doggies, but we do have Origin with me and you, and I'm so excited for that. So guys, also do remember, as I said before, we won't be hitting live next week due to us going to the Origin, but do tune in for the week after. We're going to be obviously recapping our thoughts around Origin. We were there live. We want to talk about that, some stories and that, but more little segments coming to the show. But thank you so much again, my brother, for jumping on with us, and thank you so much to everyone in the chat. Like, please make sure you like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Is that everything, my bro? Everything out?
Yeah, that's all. I've just posted up the link to my competition. I don't know if it would actually come through. I'm not sure why it's not coming through. So I'll try and post that again. But yeah, you can follow along. It's pretty much like the NRL app. There's actually live updates while we play as well. And you can see guys when they're scoring, kicking goals, everything like that. So I play for the Moreton Bay Raiders if you wanted to check that out. But I don't know if you actually will be able to access that sort of stuff being an NZ, but I'm sure you will. Web pages work everywhere. So disregard that comment. But yeah, other than that, yes, it's great show. And I appreciate all you guys again. It'll be a shame to miss next week. We might go live, quick sneaky little live from the Caxton or something. Give you guys a quick shout out, tell you the atmosphere, and then be on our way.
100%, brother. All right, guys, have a good weekend. Up the Warriors, up the doggies, and up the Maroons, baby. Up the Maroons.
Hey, come on, throw it in there. You got to have a win.
Later, Bolt.
Later, all.
Good stuff, my bro. Hold up. Ooh.